Fix it. There we go. Wow, that's not a good start. Yeah, I I think it's time to replace this microphone. Everything else has been done to try to resolve this, and it's still just wigging out, failing on me every once in a while for no good reason. And that's really not bueno for a live podcast. So I think this afternoon Going to be doing that. Anybody have any recommendations? I had been happy with my little Blue Yeti up till now. It's the Nano, because that's the cheaper one that's under $100. My inclination is just to get another one. You know what? Oh, no, before I do that last desperation move, I need to swap out and try a new USB cable, because I'm using the USB cable that literally came with the mic. It's plugged directly into the motherboard of the PC, but maybe it's the cable that's gone bad, and I should be able to find some decent, what is it, USB 2, USB 3 now? I'm not quite sure. So I guess I'll try that before I go to the ultimate desperate route of buying a completely new one. Alrighty, so let's see here. Folks are starting to show up. Let me just say, first of all, thanks to everybody following, and thank you, Goblin, for resubscribing. I see you included a message. The new viticulture expansion is co-op with new solo rules. Woo! I've been waiting for a new solo mode for years. Here's the thing, Goblin. It's literally right here. I'm under embargo. I'm not supposed to talk about it at all. I'm not supposed to show it. I've got a specific date that I'm allowed to put up a video. Jen and I don't know what all has been said about it yet, so I'm not going to say anything. No, I'm not. I'm certainly not going to do any unboxing. We're going to be unboxing this behemoth today, but yeah, I'm not supposed to give any opinions. But what I am planning on doing, since you said you've been waiting for a new solo mode for years, if I think I'm pretty sure you're a backer on the Patreon, which means you get to see the Rahdo Recluse, the monthly solo run through that I do only for Patreon backers. I am planning on doing a solo run through of the viticulture expansion, and then when I actually do, I'm basically filming it twice: a solo for the Recluse viewers, and then just a regular run through for the main channel. So it'll be all viticulture. What's it called? New World. I can turn right here. Viticulture World. It'll be all Viticulture World all this month. Although, man, this month is already halfway over. Just 3 days until I turn 53. Amazing. Anyway, though. Okay, sorry. But anyway, thanks for re-upping. And let's see. Hello, Flashburn. Hello, Goblin. Hello, Duck of Death 5. Agfox 586. Rare Norb, I don't think I've seen you for a while, and you showed up just in time to tell me the sound was out. Linneus Cabal, hello. Righty, who else? Oh, Jack, Mayor of Canada. The Mayor of Canada is here. Rodney Smith is here. That's amazing. Linneus, all right, a Rare Norb, all right. Oh, Armor Sword. Okay. Hey, everybody, how's it going? What do you have to say? Swap cable, try mic on different computer. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I should try it on different computer. But here's the thing. It's working. I mean, I'm sure if I just go plug in any other computer, it's totally fine. It's totally fine 99.9% of the time. Now, here's the really weird thing. In all the problems I've been having with it, it has never failed me when I'm recording. I'm using this Blue Yeti for, live shows. I'm also using it for just record everything I do. It has never gone out there. It only fails during live shows. That's a really curious data bit that makes me still wonder if it's something other than the microphone. If it's, I don't know. But yeah, the next thing is try a new cable. Maybe I'll splurge and buy a really high quality. I think I've got some pretty high quality cables around here somewhere though. I've got my Oculus Quest USB cable, right? That's a pretty high quality USB cable because it has really big throughput and all that. So I'll probably mess with that anyway. It's usually the cable though. Yep, and cheaper to replace, says Goblin. That is true. My real worry is it has happened so often now, and the quick on-the-fly response is just unplug the USB and then plug it back in. I'm worried that maybe I've actually damaged the USB jack on the mic itself. Although, again, more likely the cable. So we will test that. Hey, Flying Dutch Rocker. Welcome to you, Nederlander. Did I say that right? I think I did. And thank you, 13 Shano, for subscribing. Oh, that's wonderful. That's a good way to start the show, getting one step closer to another RVR episode. Hopefully, I'll be doing that next month if we get enough subscribers. And, 13 Shano, in a few minutes, your stream avatar should appear. Oh, hello. Should appear down at the bottom of the screen. You can start giving commands. Scroll down a little bit. There's a section devoted to all the different commands you can do and how you can customize yourself and all of that. Thanks for subscribing. Also, you can get merch discounts and all the rest of it. And Oh, I'm not gonna be. This is a chillax, laid back thing. I mean, obviously, not as many people are going to show up for this as they do for the RVR show because this is a relatively unexpected thing. Although, let's see here. Again, thank you very, very much. The sound quality is really good. A good machine might be cable fiddliness indeed. Yeah, Rare. I'm assuming cable fiddliness. Oh, I see Jack asking, what the what? Final podcast? Maybe. So here's the deal, folks. You know what? Actually, no, I'll talk about that. Hey, this is here so that I can do a little bit of unboxing before I start filming, giving more people an opportunity to show up. Let's do that first, and then before I start recording, I'll explain myself. So let's go to the overhead view. Boom. There we go. All right. This is huge. I think this is actually bigger. Oh, no, but, okay, I think it's extra wide because I think this is the same size as the Anachrony Super Box, also from Mind Clash Games. Just showed up the other day. Obviously, haven't looked at it. Haven't really thought about the game since I covered the prototype on Kickstarter. What was it, like a year and a half ago or something like that? All right, let's get opening. Again, absolutely huge. Oh, hey, what's this? Oh, I see. Okay, this is like the back of the box, but I bet you, okay, they're doing one of these things. Let's look at the box a little bit more. There's one side of the box, and the other, there you go, is this is the episode 1 side of the box, and the other is the episode 2, and so they had to put this under the shrink wrap so that if you found this in a retail store, you'd actually be able to see the UPC code and know what you're getting. Here's what we're getting, folks. 64 soldier miniatures, 64 dino miniatures, 8-liter miniatures. This is the deluxe edition. Oh, this is a little ripped. Modular tray system. Oh, look at that. I'm going to get a little neoprene dice tray. That's nice. Dedicated solo variant. That certainly didn't exist when I was going before. Right. Okay. Oh. And I'm very happy to see this. This deluxe version has washed miniatures. So, I wonder what should I open it on? I guess it probably doesn't matter. But no, this was the bottom. So let's come back over to the top, and this must be the episode. Yeah, this is the episode 2 side. This is the exploration game as opposed to the tower defense game. Let's take a looky-loo. Yep, I guessed correctly. So what do we get in the Super Deluxe Edition? We get, I'm assuming this must be a player mat. Oh, no. Oh, this is one of these little things. You have one of these little, how do these work? You snap them together like so, or like so, or what snaps to what? Like that? Oh, there we go. Okay. Or no, like that. There we go. Oh, this is interesting. I think you can make this in 2 different sizes. Because there's 2 different sets of snaps here. Oh, no, the other side must be if I wanted to look the other way. So, here we go. Little tray, little dinosaurs. Or I can go the other way. Because this is, the whole point of the Perseverance thing is there are 2 games in one in the box because it's the first and second chapter of, if I recall correctly, an epic 4-chapter narrative campaign that you play through competitively. Or maybe it'll be co-op later, who knows. So that's nice. Moving on. Some plastic baggies. Lovely. Okay. Geez, this is just so tall. I'm having to lift my arms up. It's kind of getting a bit fatiguing. Let's go on ahead and move that out of the way. Alrighty then. What is all of this business? Alright, Perseverance, The Castaway Chronicles, Memoirs of a Survivor. First time I met Mr. Muffles. Welcome to paradise. So the whole setting of this game is we were on a luxury cruise ship, one of those things that has like 5,000-6,000 passengers on it, plus another 2,000 crew or whatever, and we crashed and are lost on an abandoned island that's literally Land of the Lost because it's overrun with dinosaurs, and we've completely look at this. Okay, this has nothing to do with the gameplay. This is obviously just telling the story. Day 8. Chapter 2, Everyday Life. Day 9. Getting to know the characters that we can actually interact with, the different dinosaurs, because these are not regular dinosaurs. These are cool sci-fi type dinosaurs. Chapter 10, The Wall. Build the wall. Fun games are over. And nice little splash page. Chapter 2, I'm back. All right, so that's cool. Not quite a comic book, but I mean, yeah, this just seems that this is just 100% storytelling. That's really cool. They clearly have put a lot of thought in that. Let's see. And then we've got some stuff. The Dissenters, the in-game scoring. Why do I get the feeling? I bet you this is a solo thing. There was nothing like this. And this is not a Punch-Out. This is just a board. There's nothing like this when I played before. This existed though. This my prototype had a much smaller version of this, so this is just a at a glance reminder of how resolving combat with dinosaurs works. And this is the sideboard where you keep track of all your. I think there's like goals for saving. Oh, and then the assembly, there's like this politics thing because we create a new society on this island. And in the first chapter, players are doing two things. Fighting to protect our beachhead from being overrun by dinosaurs. And here's a cool little double dial thing. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff for that. And standees. Standees for folks who do not like miniatures. Kind of like me, but when you got wash miniatures, who wants standees? Alrighty. And then, oh my goodness, look at this thing. The storage for this game is so complicated. It includes an 8-page manual to keep track of all this stuff. I bet you this is going to take me hours to get all this stuff done. Oh my goodness. All right, and then we've got, right, so what is this? This is a campaign awaits. Play after episodes 1 and 2. So we shouldn't peek now, so don't look at it too much. But I think this is going to be, as I recall, the Chronicle. There were things that basically, there's two separate games in here. They're both dice worker placement games. The first one is about protecting the beach and trying to establish leadership of this new colony of people who have crashed. And then the second one is set like a year, or maybe it was 5 years later, after we've been stuck on this planet and we've actually started to build a society, and we're so secure that we start exploring the island to figure out where we are. And there was, when I played this, they talked to me and they showed me some of the early work that was going to be done with this Chronicle mode, where you can play through multiple sessions, and the choices you and your teammates, your opponents make will set up different scenarios in future gameplay. So that's what this is all about. I guess you're supposed to play it a little bit and then start playing through the campaign stuff. And then this is the rule book for episode 1. Which is basically the dice worker placement tower defense game with infinite waves, or seemingly infinite waves of dinosaurs just coming and coming and coming. And then this is, right, warning, after episode 1. This is not the beginning. This rulebook is written to provide everything you need to learn. Oh, so this is knowing how you play episode 1. Now you come here and it'll tell you what's different in episode 2. So play episode 1 first, because episode 2, the world opens up and we're going to do lots of exploration and all that kind of business. And then, a whole different rulebook for the solo game, which again was not ready for prime time when I covered this a while ago. So that's a lot of documentation. Let's move on. Let's get back over here to all of the trays. All right, okay, so these are walls. Let's actually stop for a second, make sure everybody's doing okay. Obviously my sound hasn't dropped out. Let's see, any questions so far? I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. Although, folks, if you want me to see your questions, the best way by far to ensure I don't miss them is to start your comment with a question mark. You can end with a question mark too, but if you start with a question mark, then it'll go into a special little queue I've got over here, so I should not miss any questions, and I can answer everything. So, I see that there is, it looks like Duck of Death just literally posted a question mark, which got truncated out and nothing else. So that's not much of a question. So I'm just going to keep going. I'll keep an eye on this. If you have any questions for me, just going ahead and put the questions. So anyway, so these are walls. In the first game, we are, as fast as we can, trying to build up, defensive barricades. And they are washed. So, they're not, they're always a bit nicer. It looks like they stand quite nicely there. I can put the green ones on the green screen, but those won't show up very nice. But these are cool. And let's see, what are these? I don't remember this. These, I feel like, were for the second game, because there was some kind of pyramid building thing or something like that. It's been so long since I played the game. But okay, there's some walls. And I'm sure this is probably a tray for one player character. You put all the green stuff in this one. You put all the red stuff in that one. And it would have been nice if they'd done that so it just came already preset. Okay, a whole bunch of, what are the player colors? Blue, green, red. Or no. These aren't necessarily player colors, are they? But they probably are. I'm not sure. Right, okay, yeah. All right, blue, yellow, green, and red. Sorry, Ruel, colorblind players out there. So these are more walls. And then, what have we got here? We've got some more, there's the yellow player pieces. And if I recall correctly, these are the strange, mysterious berries, which my prototype just had printouts. But, oh my gosh, these are squishy. Squish, Squish. They're squishy berries. And they have a very nice tactile feel. These are like an energy source. In the second chapter, these become like the primary resource. This is our monetary unit. Everything on this, once we discover these are super powerful energy-giving berries, they become the cornerstone of our society that we're building. And that's really cool. They're squishy. Didn't expect that. All right, and then we've got just a blank piece of paper, and then we've got dinosaurs. And dinosaurs. And then we've got, a strong chemical smell just washed over me. Oh yeah, there's the pyramid. I thought I remember there being pyramid. So there's some more minis. We'll get to all that in a bit. Here's some player boards. Dual layer. Yep, holding everything nice and snug in place. I believe, are these must be chapter 2 characters, I think. Because these people look like they've been on this island for a while, don't they? I think so. These must be the Explore characters. And then we've got another thing with more stuff. We'll get back to that in a second. Another dividing. What's it? Oh my gosh! I'm not even halfway through this thing. Oh, let's see here. A bunch more miniatures. We'll get to that in a minute. This is super heavy. What the heck is this? All right. This must be for keeping track of the Chronicle campaign. You know, how much progress is made going from thing to thing or something like that, or what you do. Some player aids. These look pretty straightforward. I don't think I need to bust those out. A lot of cards. Big dice. Where's the little dice? As I recall, unless they changed the rules significantly. And then the standees. Unleash the standees. We have an empty box now. All right. All right, boards. Those are important. We'll come back to that. Oh, that's nice. All right, what is on the other side of these? Surely they just did not, these must be character boards. Although, man, I do not remember the character boards being anywhere near this big, but it looks like there's 4 of them. All right, knife time. If I can reach it. All righty. Man, that has some tough plastic. There we go. Alrighty then. Oh, here we go. Yes. These are the adventure character boards. Because I recall, in the second game, the adventure, you can level yourself up over time and unlock all kinds of special things. This is also dual layer all over the place to hold your little cubes in place so you won't lose track of what you are. Here are 4 playable characters. Adelita, Phoenix, Keone, and Jack. Now, this is interesting. As I recall, they had talked about how there was like an intro and an advanced version of the game, and these were going to be 2-sided originally. That does not seem to be the case now. Interesting. These are gorgeous. Really, really big. So that other one, these are from the first game. These must be from the first game then. And those are from the second game. All right. Let's see. More stuff. Oh, my goodness. Okay. A lot of standees. I would always take standees over unpainted or unwashed miniatures, but these are washed miniatures, so I'm excited about that. But I like standees. I mean, at the end of the day, the art is nice. Look at all those dinosaurs. They're so much more bright and cheery and colorful. And all those soldiers. I don't think I'm going to start punching any of these. Oh, and there's the non-squishy version of the mysterious berries. All right. I can confirm these punch very nicely. I'm certainly... And this is just a two-dimensional, or mostly two-dimensional representation of all of the miniatures I've got. All right, so these are the officers from the ship who we try to curry favor with. These are some exploration tiles. These are rewards for, are these explore tiles maybe? I don't remember exactly. It's been so long. And then, and here for the other game are the officers, because it's a year or 5 years had passed, the characters changed, they advance and all sorts of things. All right. And a whole bunch more business. Homesteader, these are the thing. Yeah, you unlock these titles. If you play multiple games of this, depending on what you focused on in the first game, you might become the Orator, which gives you special powers in the second game. But if you did it in the future, you might become the Homesteader or the Mentor, depending on what kind of game you played, or the Builder or what have you. And then it looks like we have a whole bunch of dials to keep track of character stats, because it looks like there's one for each of the 4 playable characters. Okay, so that was a lot of that. Jeez Louise. Then, back to all of this. Right. Where are all my dice? There are all my dice. There's the colorful, a bunch of dice. Alrighty. look at all of that business. So, these are your workers, as I recall. Depending on the number of players, there's a certain number of them. Some of them are actually associated with players. Or maybe they're not anymore. I don't see a way to do that. Or maybe they're those ones over there. And, you roll a bunch, and so you get explorers and builders and whatever else, and you take turns doing worker placement. And some actions can only be done, for a particular type of stuff, so that's kind of the tightening thing. These don't necessarily look like they're tied to the player colors. I don't know what these are. Oh, no, I remember this. This was a random dinosaur generator for the first game. As more and more dinosaurs show up, you can never be 100% certain what's going to show up at your door as you're trying to, prepare defenses. We've got, an errata pack. Please replace the 2 copies of Chronicle 34 with these new ones. Okay. Speaking of, here's a whole bunch of cards. And then a bunch more little cards. Okay, let's just look at a few. Because I see people, I think we're reaching equilibrium. Got 50 folks watching right now. So let's just look at some cards. And again, it's been all right, I'm just going to show one of each type of card. All right, there's another one there's a green card. Oh, that showed up relatively well on the green screen. And I don't know what all these do. But here's a Dino Wrestler or some Battle Prowess. So there's a whole bunch of those. Dino Veritas. I do remember that. I remember Dino Veritas, that term. I think that was one of the patrol missions or something like that you could do in the first game. So there is so much here. And half of everything you're seeing is for the first game. Half of everything is for the second game. But the dice are the consistent. It's a board game. Let's talk about the board, shall we? Out of the way, cards. This isn't a card game. Out of the way, miniatures. This isn't a miniature game. Although I'm sure one could argue that it is. Let's look at the boards. All right. So which one is this? This is Chapter 1, or Episode 1. We've just crash landed. You can still see the remains of our ship down here. This is where we're actually trying to build. You saw those walls. You build them up for defenses. The dinosaurs start building up more and more and more up here until there's enough of them that they'll crash through our walls. And in addition to the walls, we're trying to set up defenders to protect everything we've built down here. And it's all worker placement. All of these spaces are worker placement spots that all those dice get sent to. And it looks like we've got a 2-sided board as well. One was like nighttime, one was daytime. That was not the case 2 years ago. So I don't know what all there. But you can train the crew and the survivors. You can go on patrols. You can invest in politics. Being able to manipulate the survivors so that they will follow you is a big part of this competitive game. Build your fortifications, settle, build more camps, etc., etc. So that's the first game. The tower defense game, for lack of a better term. And then the second game, which takes place a year or 2 or whatever, 5 years later, is the exploration game. It's so big, it doesn't fit on camera. I remember, I had a hard time getting all this stuff to fit on camera when I filmed it before. So here we are, still on the beach, but now it's not just a ramshackle thing. We have built a massive wall to keep everybody out. It's still a dice worker placement game, and we still focus on some stuff like politics and building, but now we actually go out into the world and have adventures, because this area is just full of dinosaur miniatures and face-down tiles, and we have to launch these things to discover what's out here and try to find out, why is there an island full of mysterious dinosaurs? How can we get off this island? Because rescue is never coming. So it's still the same dice worker placement, but instead of a competitive tower defense game, it's an exploration game, which, if I recall, Jen and I like this one more because the tower defense, fighting off wave after wave of dinosaurs could be a little bit more cutthroat. It was a bit more cutthroat for Jen's and my taste. So what else have we got here? Oh my goodness. So much stuff. Let's look at some of these miniatures. These are playable characters. Right. I need to make my screen bigger because I can't actually see what I'm showing you. There we go. Yep, so good looking washed characters. Always very nice. Here's another playable character. Just trying to stay alive on this island. A nice 6-pack that fella's got there. All right, and then it looks like, a whole bunch of standees for, if you like standees, you got all the bases in the world for them. And then what have we got here? I have no idea what these are. More standees. These must be standees for the dinosaurs. These are for the player soldiers that you recruit because you can build up defenses or you can use. It's all about recruiting and maintaining the morale of the shipwreck crew. And then we've got, looks some various cubes, some more miniatures. Oh, and then all the little things to hold all those dials. But folks, you've waited long enough. You want to see some dinos, don't you? We didn't come to Care Bear Island. You don't want to see... All right, oh, this is taped. This knife's still here. Dropping knife. Urgh. There we go. Hey there. If I recall correctly, these were fast movers, or no, these are the ones that tried to destroy your buildings. In the first game, if I recall correctly, and my memory is spotty about this, these are the ones that didn't try to kill the soldiers we defend, but instead try to tear down our buildings. They're tramplers, maybe? And then in the second game, when we can actually tame the dinosaurs, we can actually use these to rebuild our structures. And by the same token, the raptor-y type critters that were killing everybody, we can actually use them to defend us. All right, so these must be just regular soldiers, because I showed you a couple... Yeah, so these are just the regular soldiers that we recruit and that, fight and die to save everybody, and we're trying to maintain them. Looks like they come in 2 different colors. I don't remember why that would be. It looks like they're all, probably a ranged one and a melee one, as you can see there. All right, so there's some more business. Oh, bye-bye. I am literally just throwing all this stuff down on the floor, and I'm running out of room to throw stuff down on the floor. Here are some more dinos. All right, look at that. Cute little feller. Rawr, says this one. Nice and detailed. The wash came across very nicely. Here's another type. Maybe these were the bashers. I don't know. But, they're good-looking miniatures. And that's good because they just keep coming. Or they just, in the second game, they're just wandering around living their best dino lives, and we come along and try to capture them and tame them and turn them to our... Right, so here's the little Velociraptor-ish type things, although these are all original dinosaur designs because this is set in our modern day, so these are dinosaurs that didn't get wiped out and have continued to evolve. It looks like more soldiers. Wow, I think I did it. I think that's everything, folks. Man, that was a lot. That was a whole heck of a lot. And where am I? And you want to know, this is a huge mess down there right now. But okay, we've done an unboxing. I imagine people have arrived. So, righty. I see, all right, not towards the hand. I don't know what you mean, Feng Sai, but in the future I will try to not do things towards the hand. Oh, using, yes, the knife. You are entirely correct. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants here, but yes, I should... I should have proper safety in mind. Will I be filming Perseverance again? Generally, no. I mean, the reality is, I cover these games on, when they're on Patreon. Or, I'm sorry, not on Patreon, when they're on Kickstarter or GameFound. And then I usually send the prototype on to somebody else, and I just move on to the next thing. 9 times out of 10, I never end up getting a final retail copy of the game. Sometimes the publishers reach out and ask, and usually I'll say no because... it's like, I don't have room for any more games here. It's just going to gather dust. This one, they just sent it to me. They didn't ask. And that's okay, because honestly, I'm kind of happy. I'm really excited, because both Jen and I really like this one quite a bit. Plus, I do plan eventually to cover chapters 3 and 4, if they want me to do it, when those eventually go on Kickstarter, maybe next year or the year after that, who knows how long that'll take. So, having these on hand so I can do the whole campaign and play through chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 when I get the prototype, that makes sense. Now, here's the big thing. If I do end up getting a final retail copy, I will end up filming it if it has changed in a significant way. And sometimes these do. Sometimes my prototypes are fairly early. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. But if you want to make it happen, Goblin, what you need to do is go to request.rahdo.com and check if it's not already there. Actually, let's check right now. Let's all check right now. Let's bring up the browser. And, where is my browser? Alrighty. I want to go, actually I'm just going to go thumbs.rahdo.com. This is the output. I have a geek list, everybody, you don't know, request.rahdo.com. People can go there and you can request I cover games. People thumb them. If they work their way up to the top of the thumbs list, which is what thumbs.rahdo.com keeps track of, then I will film it. Let's see, is Perseverance on here? No, it hasn't. So nobody has requested me to cover Perseverance. So there's 2 ways it's going to happen. One is, if it's a significantly different change, I might go on ahead and start putting it to voters if they want me to cover it. If there's only little changes, I probably won't. The other way is if somebody requests it at, let's go there, requests.rahdo.com. And just add this to this 8 pages geek list, and then if it starts accruing thumbs when it gets to the top, that will get me to cover it as well. And then the third reason I might cover it is, again, if it's a follow-on and I finally get chapters 3 and 4, then I'll need to play it. But as it is, I got 50 or 60 games out there I've got to cover, and I've already covered this. So that is the nature of my existence. All right, what else have people asked? What does washed mean? Goblin, probably somebody already told you, but if you've ever played a miniature game and you're like, oh, these miniatures are kind of lame. Yeah, I can see they're really detailed, but you can barely see the detail because they're just amorphous gray blobs. And it's not until somebody literally paints them and brings out all that detail can you really appreciate the artistry and the craftsmanship behind them. What a wash is, it means as part of the production process, they at one point those miniatures just look like any other miniature, just amorphous gray shapes. And if you looked really closely, you could see all the etched detail. But they apply some kind of pre-painting process, a wash to it, that basically kind of like puts some kind of black liquid paint, I don't know what, so that you can see the detail more. And they instantly look much more attractive. It's interesting. I mean, they look great, but I have seen washes that are much more, what would you say, aggressive, and you really makes things pop a lot more. This one feels like it's kind of a light wash. Not that I know anything about any of this, but presumably somebody in the chat answered better than I could anyway. Let's see, and then one more question. Duck of Death did ask, final podcast, what are you talking about? Well, okay, I'm done. Let's see, come back to the talking head. I'm done with the unboxing. We're about to start recording the podcast. What do I mean? First of all, what episode is this going to be? I have no idea. I need to look that up. No, I don't, because I'm not going to start with the intro. I'm just going to start going directly into the Q&A portion because people have sent questions to questions@rahdo.com. I'll record my intro later because I haven't even figured out exactly what I'm going to say. Now, I'm saying it to you folks first because you're here right now. So here's the deal. I don't know if you've noticed. There's kind of we're bordering on a worldwide recession right now. Certainly, inflation is out of control. Highest it's been in decades and all of that. And not surprisingly, as a result, people don't have as much disposable income as they used to do. Why am I talking about this? Because, in case you didn't know, the main thing that drives Rahdo Runs Through is my ongoing Patreon account, which I've been running for, ever since Jen and I moved back to the States. So maybe almost 4 years now? Have we been back that long? That seems crazy, but maybe. I don't know. Anyway, and what I've noticed is, over the last 2 or 3 months, my monthly support on Patreon has just been dropping like a stone. And that's fine. It's totally understandable. I mean, anytime somebody says, "Oh, Rahdo, I've been a subscriber for years. I always support you," but I mean, gasoline is too expensive. I can't afford to. I'm really having to tighten belts. I always say to everybody whenever they tell me that, hey, put yourself and your family first. I'm just a goofy little show talking about board games. I'll still keep doing it. Don't worry about it. But a lot of the features on my show I do because I've hit certain milestones. And at this point, this morning, when I looked and I saw if my monthly income drops by another $30 or so, give or take, I will have fallen below the threshold where the Rahdo Talks Through podcast is unlocked. Now, the podcast, of course, it was originally a Kickstarter stretch goal back when I used to do yearly Kickstarter fundraising, like what Tom Vassell continues to do, and so it's always been a viewer-sponsored show. And the thing is, I mean, people are having to tighten their belts. I mean, there's lots of reasons people would stop supporting the show. Obviously, some people are unhappy with stances I've taken in, and using my show as a platform. I lost so many people because of that, and sometimes people are just like, you know what? I don't like all these new people Rahdo's bringing on. I just want the Rahdo. I don't want to, like I said, there's been such a huge drop-off over the last couple of months. It's, what is it? Correlation does not equal causation, but at the same time that gasoline is in the United States coming up to $5 a gallon, which I know to European viewers is like, whatever. Welcome to our world. We don't have subsidized gas. Well, Americans do, and so a lot of people are having to belt tighten, and so my funding has dropped. And so what I want to make clear is this: if in fact my funding continues to drop at the speed it is, probably next month I will not be I'll be making enough to have Jen come down here and do a podcast with me, because Jen Jen gets paid to come down here and, gab on with me about board games and all that. And she could be upstairs working, making glass, which is her actual job. So if the funding drops, there will probably be a temporary moratorium. Although what I want to do, folks, I've never done this. The R&R show has a weekly sponsor. The monthly roundup has a monthly sponsor. I've never really chased after trying to get sponsorship for the podcast, but I have an incredibly popular podcast. According to online stats, I'm in like the top 3% of podcasts in the world based on the number of monthly downloads I get. So it seems like I should be able to pick up a sponsor for it. Say every month, hey everybody, this month's episode of the Rahdo Talks is brought to you by board and dice. I just happened to a box I saw. And and if that's the case, then that could fill in, because the Patreon backers can't support at the level they used to. So when I say maybe it's the final, it's not really. Either if my funding continues to stay above that threshold, that's great. If it drops and I can get a sponsor, I'll keep going. Believe me, I'm happy to keep doing this. The podcast is one of my favorite things I do for the channel, quite frankly. And Jen, I'm always worried that she's like, "Hey, you go on every month." She's like, "No, this is the best thing you have me do, other than actually play the game." So it's not. I think I said final question mark, because I just wanted to mention it is a potential thing that maybe I'd go on hiatus for a month or two. Now, don't get me wrong. The podcast channel will still have the audio versions of the R&R show. And by the way, this is just a trial run for me actually doing the intro for this episode. Still have the R&R show. Still have the monthly roundup, because the monthly roundup is sponsored, and so it's not tied to my Patreon funding. And so what was I saying? Oh yeah, and if you are a backer on Patreon, at the levels that get you the Gen Jogs, that'll still be available in audio form, as will the monthly Rahdo Rambles. So that stuff will all still be there. It's just a question of, will the actual podcast, which is basically a 2 to 3 hour long, really deep dive Q&A podcast, will that continue? For now, I'm going to tell people, keep sending questions to questions@rahdo.com, and we'll see. We'll just play it year by year, month by month, if I can either find a sponsor for the show, or if the funding doesn't drop too much more. That's basically Duck of Death, what's going on with the final podcast. Alrighty. To which Funksai says, sponsorship sounds like it would work, doesn't bother me. Yeah, and like I said, it's a hugely popular. I probably have. Now that Dice Tower is gone, until Tom rebuilds, with the new show that he and Eric are doing, I may very well be the #1 board game podcast in the world in terms of actual downloads. Obviously, Dice Tower was. Shut Up and Sit Down has one too. I bet you they still probably beat me. But I'm easily in the top 2 or 3. So I just have to put my nose to the grindstone and start calling people and saying, hey, did you know I have a hugely successful podcast? Would you like to sponsor it and have me talk about one of your games every month to literally thousands of listeners? Yeah, maybe. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. And of course, obviously the one thing I can do, I constantly get deluged with kind of blanket emails of, hey, do you want to do a commission thing talking about our Crocs knockoff or whatever else? If you listen to other podcasts, you always hear people talking about all kinds of stuff. I could say yes to any of those, but I really don't want to do that. One, because I don't want to talk about something I don't believe in. I wouldn't accept a sponsorship for something I think is garbage, or that I didn't know, that I couldn't personally confirm is good, high quality stuff. And 2, I'd like to keep it about board games. And actually, you know what I should do? Who's been sponsoring the Dice Tower podcast for the last few years? Because, I'm sure probably Tom's already wrapped them up for his new interview show that he's doing anyway. But I'll figure something out. We'll see what happens. Alrighty. And let's see here. Goblin then adds. Why aren't you putting there? Without your somewhat monthly podcast, how will you track patches? There's still the monthly roundup, and there's still the monthly Rahdo Rambles. If you back on Patreon for $2, there's still the monthly Recluse. If you back at $5, there's still the Gen Jogs. If you back at $10, there's still the Rest and Relax, where Jen and I play an entire game. If you back at $15 a month, so there will still be plenty of other monthly shows that are still being covered by the Patreon. It's just, like I said, it's been a precipitous drop. And I I can't blame anybody. A lot of people are going through a lot of tough times now financially because of the state of the world, because, the ongoing worldwide shipping crisis and the inability for logistics to actually deliver consumer demand. And of course, it just so happens there's a war going on right now that's radically affecting fuel prices around the world. So, yeah. Totally understandable. People have more important things to spend their money on than hearing me and Jen talk for 3 hours a month. Totally get it. It's no problem at all. We'll see what else I can come up with. Alrighty. Let's see here. Linnea says it was the op. I've covered very few op games. It's funny, actually, the last R&R, we raided the op. They were doing a test. They figured nobody was going to see them, and then we raided them. And they're like, ah! And then they posted about it. So maybe that's a way to open the door. Hey, remember when I raided you the other day? But here's the deal. Before I would do sponsorship from the op, I really don't know their games very well. I would actually want to check out their games and make sure, because everything that I peddle or that I take sponsorship of, these are all things I believe in. That Cuphead game from the op looks really, really awesome. And Ruel says it's great too. So I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Let's see here. It looks like I haven't missed any other question marks. All right. So then I'm ready to do what I came here to do. And it is definitely warming up in here. So let's say goodbye to the Board Game Geek shirt. Continue. Everybody, they love Thinker Themer. Mondays with Thinker Themer. Awesome show. Okay. So, did I miss anything? All right, looks like some avatar customizations happened, some more followers. Thank you, folks. The more followers we get, the closer we are to unlocking a communal top 10 where I work with you, the audience, live to come up with a really great top 10. A lot of fun. Looking forward to doing one again when we unlock that. And thank you, Shano13, for subscribing. Okay. Then we are set. Let me make sure I've got all my stuff ready. All right, where are you? There's the Word document with the questions. And there's the browser, which I should probably just put back onto Board Game Geek, just as a nice general purpose thing. My phone is beeping at me. Let me check what that is really quick. All righty. What are you saying? Oh. Okay. Note letting me know it's time to refill some of my mom's prescriptions because they send me texts. And so I will do that this afternoon because it's not like they're going to get here today anyway. All right, so I've got the browser ready in case questions need me to show things. I've got the Word document full of all the existing questions. I've got you folks along for the ride. And here's the other thing. So I don't know how many questions do I have. It was a better turnout of questions this month. Last month was a little slow, although the show ended up being over 3 hours anyway. So these are the questions I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through all of these game questions today. Yeah, a pretty decent amount. And then tomorrow, when Jen's got time, I'm going to be doing some gaming questions with her. We've got 3 of them. And then we'll also be doing our personal stuff. And then this weekend, I will take what I'm filming with you folks today and the stuff Jen does not want to appear live answering questions. So the offline recording I'll do with her tomorrow, and the online I'm recording her will turn into the next podcast episode. And will it be the last? I don't know. If there are any publishers and you're looking for sponsorship, hey, reach out. If you want to sponsor what could very well, for at least a little while anyway, be the #1 board game podcast in the world. I have nothing to back that up. I'm totally guessing, but I guarantee you I'm in the top 3. Well, I'm probably. I think Shove and Sit Down, they probably do much better than me because they are monsters of the industry. They're the top dogs, and Tom hasn't started his new thing yet, so even still, that's gonna have to build back up. So anyway. I said I wasn't going to be doing hardcore sales pitch, and here I am sales pitching to you folks. And no, that was silly. That's silly. Okay, let's get going. Is there anything else I need to focus on? Hey, from Barcelona, Spain, 1981, Ingrid. Hello. Boy, saying it properly, Barcelona just always never works out very well for me. But Jen and I, we really enjoyed our visit. I think we've made 2 vacations to Spain. Had a great time both times. Let's see. People talking about games from the op. That's cool. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a possibility. I've very little interaction with them over the years, so I don't know much about them. All right. So anyway, looks like I'm all caught up. again, folks, if you have questions, let me go ahead and put the little warning on screen. So this is going to remind everybody that while I am recording, I won't be doing stuff, but I think I've also updated this so it does have the reminder in there saying, hey, don't forget to start your questions with a question mark. Oh, yeah, because that's the thing. If while I'm doing this and answering questions that have already been submitted to questions@rahdo.com, it prompts any follow-up questions that you might be interested in, throw them my way. And if they work, I will record a little bit more, and questions from you will end up going into the podcast as well. That's what I've done for the last few episodes. It's worked out pretty well so far. Thank you, Dragons, for resubscribing for 2 months. Excellent, excellent. Getting closer. I mean, we got a long way to go. We just unlocked the April one, so that's really trying to... Oh, I can't cover it. Trying to unlock the May RVR. So we're on our way to doing that as well. Cool, cool, cool. Then, let me get one last sippy sip. And so this is going to be, I'm jumping right into the middle. I'll record the intro separately, wherein I'll probably have a more truncated version of that big spiel I just gave all of you folks. But it was good to actually talk through, and I mean, that's the first time I've verbalized any of this stuff. So that's going to help me try to, pare it down a little bit for the intro. I'll worry about that later. I'm just going right into the, hey, okay, let's start asking the questions. The first one is from Alexa here, etc., etc. Okay. And really, I take all the questions, come to questions@rahdo.com. I break them down into their component parts, because sometimes there's extra stuff, or I don't want to put people's email addresses on screen or anything like that. So I've looked at these a little bit, but I don't remember. I kind of remember what this one was, something to do with attacking in my top 20 or some such. So I'm still, for the most part, trying to answer these questions spontaneously, contemporaneously, to have that life that I think is what makes my show special. There's nothing scripted about anything I do, my run-throughs or anything. Oh, and if this microphone fails on me again, folks, you know what to do. Start bombarding me with boom, boom, boom stickers, right? Right? Everybody know how to do that? If you scroll down below the video, there's a plugin that has stickers, and some of them cost like 25 or 50 cents if you want to throw a little bit of support my way and have a customized message pop up on screen. But the important ones are on every page there's one free one, and I think it's on the second free one, the second page, the free one, or maybe it's the third page, let's see, go away there, is on the second page, it's on the third page, there's boom. And so, kaboom. If my, thank you very much, Goblin, for a gold star, special just for me. So, we reserve the boom for when my sound goes out so that I know that, oh, crap, all right, it's died, I gotta adjust the microphone, and then I gotta rewind a little bit and say, okay, where was I, and pick up again. So, yeah, if you really want to catch my attention, use the air horn. But that will cost you 50 American cents if you want to do that. Anyway, though. Oopsie. Yep.
Oops.
So, that's neither here nor there. That's just me pushing buttons because they're all free for me, of course. All right, so we are set up, ready to go. Oh, wait. Oh, before we go, though, it's not going to be quite as big as normal, but we need to have a battle royale, don't we? Oh, and by the way, we're not in the R&R post show. I'm sure you folks were pointing that out to me, that I need to update banner.txt on my hard drive, don't I? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Love right back to ya. Which that's the first time I've ever tried to do that. And it didn't work out very well. All right, banner is gone. Let's fight. Battle Royale. Alrighty. Okay, here they come. This is going to be quicker than normal because, there's probably like usually 30 more people or so when we're doing the RVR show, since that's our regular weekly. But, oh, I like the look, A.G. Fox. You're my favorite. The Snake Plissken, old man Snake Plissken. A.G. Fox goes right, throws down with Goblin 981 and runs away and is going up against Linnaeus. And now trying to track down Linnaeus, but decides, no, Linnaeus is okay. And goes toe-to-toe with Dinoga. And, all right, so far, Age Fox, you're doing pretty well. You're still at 50%. But there's a health pack a long ways away. Oh, Age Fox, my Snake Plissken, okay, get Feld. No, don't get Feld. Feldfan is my fellow Feldfan. Feld takes me out. Feld fan, where's the Feld love? We're the ultimate Feld fans. And oh my gosh, A.G. Fox somehow is still alive. Although right on the very hairy edge. And Little Buster is coming right for you, Ag. I think that's going to be it for you. Will you survive again? But it looks like JW is going to pick up a health pack. No, they're not. Oh, why? You took out Flashburn. All right, Little Buster and A.G. Fox, it's the end of the line for Snake. An epic fight. Both Little Buster and JW are, but JW gets the health pack first. But this could still go either way. It's all a bunch of random dice rolls behind the track. And Little Buster gets a backstab, but JW, pick up the health pack. JW picks up the health pack. Run away, Little Buster. Okay, it's the ultimate super swords is the key sword from Kingdom Hearts versus, I don't know where that laser sword is from. But, okay, yeah, they are going toe-to-toe. Little Buster, it does not look good, but she's putting up a good fight. And kablooey. JW Spiker, the king of the health packs, wins it all. All right, congratulations. That is 100 points for you to give yourself a cape, perhaps, if you'd like. Feld's biggest fan. Oh, I guess so. It was the fight to see who was Feld's biggest fan. And yeah, no surprise, Feld fan won that fight. And I blew up real good. Okay, cool. All right, now, with all that silliness out of the way, it is time to get back to the things and the stuff. Righty, where were you? There is my Word document. There's the first questions. Okay. No health packs for Little Buster. You made it to the finals? You made it to the number 2 spot with no health pack, Little Buster? You are unstoppable. I would say, I'm afraid there is no second place, though. Too bad. Alrighty. So, here we... All right. Let's see, I'm still warming up. Time to lose the slippers. It is actually freezing in this room. But once I get going, I start warming up. And the clothes start coming off. Okay. We are now ready to go. 53 minutes! I just jibber-jabbered with all of you folks. Oh, it's so silly. But that's fine. I assume, in part, that's what you're here for. But, folks, if you just showed up, we're about to start recording. And during this, I will not be responding anymore. But if you think of questions, start your comments with a question mark so they go into my queue. And maybe some of those questions will go into the podcast as well. One last sip. That was a lot of shouting. Okay. All right, where are we? Okay. All right. Oh, I need to get... it's on the screen, but I need to get it in front of me, too. There we go, and there is the browser, and you're still doing fine, right? That's all okay. All right, cool. I see Bing already has a question. That's a good question, Bing, that you have submitted with your question mark at the beginning. I will probably put that in the podcast after we do the rest of the stuff. Oh, by the way, folks, wherever possible, make the questions you might ask game or Rahdo runs through the show related, because that's my first section. First, we do all game stuff that I answer. Then we do a few game things that Jen can answer as well, because she doesn't have quite as much to say as games as I do. And then we do the personal stuff. But if you want to throw in games questions, those will be cool. That's an excellent one from Bing. We'll get to that in a bit at the end of the already submitted stuff. All right, so let me put that in the background, and we're ready to go. One last sip. I know I promised. Okay. That was really quiet. Okay, everybody, it is questions time. And again, questions at Rahdo.com. I'll keep answering them as long as this show keeps going. So let's start out with Alexa, who says that her boyfriend is incredibly curious. Alexa, stop. I could see in the corner of my eye, Alex, I shall call my personal digital assistant, lit up and was going to start saying something. Boy. All right, anyway. Alex A asks, my boyfriend is incredibly curious as to why I don't have Everdell rated on Board Game Geek. The question is, how would we rate it? I did have it rated for a long time, and I think it's in, somewhere between an 8 and an 8.5. I don't remember exactly where. The reason it's not rated currently is because it's no longer in my collection. I ended up sending it down to Vegas to become part of the Dice Tower West Convention Library. And why did I do that? I mean, I think the game is great. Both Jen and I really like it quite a bit. Love the art. Love of course, the Rahdo runs through, unique promo cards that people can get by buying stuff on my wife's Etsy shop. If you'd like to know more, just ping me anywhere. If you want to get a cool Rahdo runs through Everdell promo. But why didn't we keep it? I mean, it's not because of the game at all. It's because I noticed all of this really awesome content coming for it. I mean, hasn't it had like 3 or 4 expansions plus a whole bunch of extra stuff, and I don't have any of it. And I'll be honest. Well, the thing is, when I get a big collection of games to send down to Vegas to become part of the Dice Tower West library, I do them in these gigantic Federal Express, FedEx, what do you call them, freight boxes. They're huge. They must be, I don't know, probably 4 or maybe 5 feet by 5 feet by 4 feet tall, maybe 3 feet, 5 by 5 by 3, something like that. Maybe a meter and a half by a meter and a half by a meter. That's gigantic. That holds hundreds of games. And so what'll happen is, hey, here's all the games that I've covered for the channel. Here's some prototypes that I don't need that I didn't send to other reviewers. Okay, I'll put all that in, and then the box is like 2/3 full. I'm like, okay, I got to fill this box up. And then I start coming back in here and I start making hard choices. Because the reality is, I'm surrounded by 400 some games, and there's going to be games coming out this year that I want to keep more than some of these. So I have to start making tough choices just to fill this FedEx box. And the reason, and in fact, actually, I've done a full breakdown of why every single game is gone. I did it in a ramble earlier this year, either in January or February. My monthly ramble is, hey, let me run through every game I got rid of from my collection over the previous year, and I'll tell you why I got rid of it. It's one of the many things you can get if you subscribe at patreon.com/Rahdo. But anyway, as I recall, if you watch that ramble, you'll see I talked about Everdell. It was generating so much FOMO in me, fear of missing out, and that's not a healthy attitude at all. And I suppose I could have reached out to the publisher and said, hey, if you send me some of these expansions, I'll cover them for the channel, and they probably would. But, I mean, I've already covered Everdell. I already did cover a couple of the expansions when they were on Kickstarter, and there's so much else. I mean, I'm to the point where I very, very rarely reach out to publishers to ask for games to cover because I've got such a huge backlog at any given time. At any given time, if you go to pubsent.rahdo.com, you'll see all the games that are already in my queue. Bringing more games in just so I can fulfill FOMO, which again, is not the healthy of attitudes, just didn't really make sense. But I wanted all that Everdell stuff so bad. And so I thought, well, okay, this is giving me a reason to spread the wealth. It was a deluxe edition, with the jacket cover and all that. And I thought, hey, somebody will really enjoy playing that at Dice Tower West. I won't have the FOMO building up in me anymore, so that's why I didn't make it. But when I had it, it was somewhere between 8 and 8.5. And I just don't rate games that I don't keep anymore. And instead, also, you could probably just go to gone.rahdo.com, and I might have written that explanation there too, why I got rid of it. And I'm going to stop. Only one question in because I just heard in my ear, hey, Czech Games Edition, hey, CGE heads. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Czech, for saying hi. And here's what we're going to be doing for the next hour or so. I'm recording my monthly Rahdo Talks Through podcast while also getting buzzes on my phone. What is it now, phone? Right. Yeah, I already said I don't need to do that. Stop buzzing me about that. Oh, there's a call. Well, I'll have to call them back too. All right. I've looked at you. You can stop buzzing me now. So I am, people submit questions to email address questions@rahdo.com. I compile them all into this big Word document right here, and then I record myself answering them. In the past, I just recorded them by myself. But now I just film myself doing it live and make a little show out of it. And so, if you're going to stick around and you can think of any questions you would like to add to the Rahdo Talks Through podcast, please let me know. Start your question with a question mark, though. It's like question mark, what do you mean this about Everdell? If there's like follow-ups to stuff I'm talking about. So that way I'll catch it in a special queue. Folks who are already watching can explain. And, right, so I just wanted to pause and welcome everybody. Hopefully you enjoy the show, and thanks to CGE. I love you people over there. CGE is still one of my favorite publishers of all time. All right, so that was Alex's question, and we're going to continue on. I'm just doing this for sound. I can use that little, what's it called? I'll add a marker on Twitch. That will help me find where the thing was that where I have to edit this part out of the real thing. Okay, so then let's, I'll do that anyway. And, okay, and moving on. Ali asks, or says rather, that they've been listening to my podcast for around 2 years. I'm always happy to hear when I support games with story campaigns like those from Alexander Pfister, as Ali enjoys those as well. But they've given Ali a reason to, and they've given Ali a reason to keep playing. One of the things Ali wanted to do was make his own story campaigns for games and play them with his wife more. And normally provides these free later on Board Game Geek, and you can check them out at, and he's got a bit.ly link here. All right, I hope you get a chance to check these out, and I'll be happy to get some constructive feedback from you. Well, let's take a look, shall we? Alrighty, I will control-click that link. That should have opened up in the browser. Let's bring up the browser view. And let's see. This is Karar's Story Mode Campaigns for Board Games. Alrighty, and it looks like he's done 22. So he has made a story mode for Zombicide, for Clank Legacy. Oh, so you can get another story out of your Clank Legacy. That's very cool. Andor, I love Andor, one of my favorites. Pandemic, I love... Okay, let's take a look at this. This story mode is a scenario that adds episodic story with each scenario slightly tweaking the rules. Yeah, this is it. This is what Alexander Pfister does, and I don't understand why every publisher doesn't do that. If Ali can do it, and Alexander Pfister can do it, you can do it too. Let's take a look at this one. Alrighty. Oh, that's just a picture. That is a very cool picture. All right, how do I get to it? All right. Oh, I follow this link. Yes. Okay. So then that takes me to the pandemic files section, and it's in version 1.6. Let's open that up. Really nice presentation, Ali. All righty. And so 16 episodes this story plays through, where you've given names to the viruses. You've changed the rules for the core characters. You have an FAQ. You have a changelog. Geez, Louise, you are serious about this. That is really awesome. And then we get to the chapters. Chapter 1, it starts with an outbreak. Chapter 2, behind bars. Chapter 3, mutating. Chapter 4, no safe place. And so what happens in Chapter 4? Karachi Research Station has exploded. Place it sideways on Karachi. No new research can be built in Karachi. Players start at Karachi. So this is all very cool. This is what publishers could do. I'm engaged in this. I want to play a version of Pandemic where these special rules are... All right, Jackson has actually moved to research. All the action are the same. No, the medic is offline. Probably maybe they're incapacitated for some reason. All right, whenever for step 2 infect, if it happens in a city, then explode one of your research stations that matches the color. Wow. Research cannot be done. It destroyed research. So our research stations are... And there's actually a picture. Wow. This is very, very impressive. My feedback is, wow, this is really cool. And from just looking at this little bit I've seen, I think you have really gotten the idea of how to do this. Just create a story that we can play through. Hey, if I'm going to play Pandemic 16 times, I could just play with a random setup every time, or I could play through this and actually have a story and see the world and the game change. That's really neat. I wish I had time to play it, Ollie, but I don't, because I've got, as I just said, 50 or 60 games out there I've got to cover. But when I eventually retire, you know what? Actually, hold on a second. That is so cool. Let me come back here. I'm going to bookmark this geek list. Alrighty. Right, where do I do this? Right, coming over here. And do I have any spaces on this one? Yes. There we go. On my second page of bookmarks, I am Ali's narrative campaigns. Someday, Ali, I will have the bandwidth to come back and start playing some of these. If the industry hasn't caught on to just how smart and how relatively easy it is to do this, well, then you've got my back, and I love it. I am very excited to explore that stuff more. Thanks for sharing. Okay. And I guess if anybody else wants to check it out, I'll put the link down in the show notes for this podcast, and other people will check it out as well. That seems really neat. Okay, moving on. From Andrew, would I ever consider playing a game turn-based via video text with someone? Rodney from Watch It Played talked about how much he was liking it, and if yes or no, what game would I think would work well? Okay. Now, also, Andrew likes that I almost rated Team Covenant the other day. They're great guys with great board. Yeah, the Team Covenant guys. I'm a big fan. I've totally subscribed to them on YouTube. I'm always checking out their stuff. So yeah, I'm another Team Covenant head. But anyway, I have actually done this many years ago when I was seeking funding it was either the first or the second Kickstarter campaign I launched to fund Rahdo Runs Through as a channel. I did have a certain backer level reward that, hey, you can play a live, a game with me and Jen. And I did it a couple of times, and it was nice, but in the back of my mind, I was always like, but I've got all these other games I've got to play. And so I think I fulfilled all the requirements I needed. There might still be a few people out there who I owe it to, actually, now I think about it. But ultimately, in a future year, I took that off. And then when I switched over to Patreon, I didn't bring it back. It's nice enough to answer your question of what would work really well. Ruel in the weekly RVR show that Ruel or RNR, the Rahdo and Ruel show that we film every week. A couple of months ago, we had this topic. It was we did a top 10 best remote play games. So go check that out. Go to rnr.rahdo.com, scroll down until you find the episode that's about remote play, and we'll talk about 10 that we think work really well. So there you go. Okay, moving along. Gerald says polyomino games are so engaging. Why, Gerald asks, do I think that is? And do I think it could be captured in a different mechanism? Well, tile laying in general, putting aside polyominoes, the reason it is one of my personal favorites, and I think this would, bear fruit along, one of the reasons it's so popular in general. I mean, there's a reason that Carcassonne is one of the premier, one of the golden three. I don't know if it's the Batman or the Wonder Woman or the Superman of board game gateways. You got your Ticket to Ride, you got your Catan, you got your Carcassonne. Usually, I mean, this is back in the day. There's more, there's a whole Justice League of them now. But I think, for me, tile laying in general is so satisfying because when you're done, you have literally built something. It is not something that is abstracted away in the form of victory points, or how many kills you got or something like that. It's a thing, and you can see it, and you can touch it, and you can feel it. And I think that fires a really low-level, almost lizard brain dopamine pleasure rush, because it's one of the things that separates us from very few other creatures in the animal kingdom that actually consciously, purposely build things. Like beavers build dams. I imagine beavers, in their own beaver way, find that to be incredibly satisfying. And I mean, we do the same thing. And so being able to bring that tactile nature into our fun gameplay, where we don't see it in most games, John. A worker placement game, what am I building there? A bunch of cards I have in front of me? That's not a thing. That's not a place. That's not, if it's like Glen Moore, it's a tile laying game that represents an engine. That's not my actual engine laid out here in front of me that I can actually play with. So I think people like to build things and create things, and tile layers scratch that itch better than most other mechanisms. And then on top of it, why polyominoes do it even better, because there's an extra level of satisfaction that comes from getting all these things to slot in so perfectly. There's like a whole genre of videos now on YouTube and TikTok called Most Satisfying, where they're just videos of things slotting into other things, usually in a really smooth and, quote, satisfying manner. So that's why I've got this jigsaw. I mean, there's a reason jigsaw puzzles have existed for, how long have jigsaw puzzles existed? For hundreds of years at the very least, and they still, sales of jigsaw puzzles totally eclipse everything we do, that we play as diehard modern board gamers. Why? Because of that. Why do people do it? Because it's satisfying to get it done. And that's what tile laying does. And polyominoes do it even more, because they're not just simple hexes or simple squares. They're actual complex shapes that still have interesting interactions with what they're going next to. So I think that's why they really stand out. Uwe Rosenberg, Gerard continues, recent game Tulip Fever sounds interesting with its Yahtzee mechanism, but it's gotten terrible reviews. Have I played my copy yet? Is it that bad? No, I haven't, and I really want to play it. But the monthly voters, the people who back the show on Patreon, they vote on what I'm going to cover, and it's done okay in the votes, but it hasn't quite made it up to the top. Let me take a look. How did it do in the last vote? Let me just pull this up really quick. Because, for folks who don't know, if you back me on Patreon at any level, even $1 a month, you get to vote on what will be covered on the Rahdo Runs Through channel every month. Let's see, back to the browser. So that's why this month I'm filming run-throughs of Concordia Solitaria and Maracaibo the Uprising and Three Sisters and Shinkansen Zero Kai. And let's see. And here's Tulip Fever. at $12.58. But the top one, that was getting to $28.97. So, Tulip Fever is smack dab in the middle. It's not like poor Trek 12 that actually gets negative votes. People vote against it, or Nirvana, or Milestones. These are a subset of all the games I've got still to play. So, if it could work its way up higher, I would definitely play it. But I haven't been chasing it because the people who support my show have indicated to me that it is not a high priority for them to see it, which is too bad because I'm really interested in it. How's it doing on the thumbs? Let's see. Let's look at that. Did I talk about the thumbs list already? Tulip. No, it's not even. Am I spelling it right? T-U-L-I? No, Tulpen. Right. Tulpen, which I assume is the German plural for tulips. Tulpen. Right. It has only gotten 17 people have thumbed it, saying, yes, I would like this to appear. Every month, in addition to the games that people vote for, my Patreon backers vote for, I cover a game that's at the top of my thumbs list. And Tulpen Fever just needs to get more thumbs. It needs to get what's currently at the top of the list? At the top of the list is Terra Mystica Merchants of Sea. That's currently the high one. That's probably what I'm going to be doing next month. That's at 58. So if Tulpen Fever could go from 17 to 59, I would cover it next month and I'd be able to tell you. I definitely want to play it because I've read the rules and it looks really sharp to me. And as far as I'm concerned, Uwe Rosenberg has only ever had one stinker, which was, I can't remember the name of it now. It was a real stinker, though. Maybe this is his second stinker. I'd be willing to bet it's not, and I definitely want to give it a try. But that's why I haven't done so yet. Okay. Alrighty, then Gerald continues. Jamie Stegmeyer posted a blog about the top 20 selling games of the past few years, and Gerald noticed most of them had attacking in some way or other. Yeah, okay. Most forms of entertainment. Humanity loves blood sport. We love seeing conflict. It gets the heart racing. It's, again, lizard brain stuff. Anyway, Gerald looked at my top 20, which you can find at rank.rahdo.com, and found it interesting that most of my top 20 also have attacking. 11 out of the 20, in fact. Maybe we Euro Care Bear gamers are subconsciously not as conflict averse as we'd like to think. So then he's taken my top 20. I only listed the games that you can avoid attacking or being attacked, which rules out Agricola, Maracaibo, Nations, or Dominion. Agricola, it can be an incredibly nasty attack game. Agricola is, it's in my top 10. It's one of the most hard. I have definitely been raked over the coals. That can be an incredibly rough game. If somebody just takes the sheep and then doesn't have a oven to cook them and doesn't have a pen and just lets them go solely so I can't get them because I've got an engine based out of them, there are few moves in all of Euro board gaming that is more nasty than that in Agricola. But anyway, so you're looking like Pandemic has viruses attacking and us attacking it. Shadowrun Crossfire has attacking bad guys. Gloomhaven has us fighting monsters. Castles of Burgundy has no attacks. Agricola has no attacks, although it does, just not thematically. Energy Empire, we get attacked by pollution. Okay, right, so I get the idea. Here's the thing, Gerald. What I avoid and what Jen tries to avoid is not the idea of conflict in games. We're human beings too, and we also respond to some of the old ultra-violence, kick 'em, smash 'em. It's kind of hardwired into our DNA. It's exciting to fight off hordes of scary bad guys or whatever it might be. But we just don't want to attack each other. We don't mind getting attacked. A game that actually makes us work hard, that, Agricola attacks us by making us starve, by, denying us resources and, making us lose points if we can't find a way to feed our people. That's an attack of sorts. It's a denial attack, a denial of food, a DOF attack. So it's just, we do not want to physically be the aggressor. And I don't think any of my top 20 have. You can get attack cards in Dominion. We would never play with those stupid, crappy attack cards in Dominion. They're garbage. They're wasting space. But yeah, none of these games are ones where players attack each other directly. That's what we avoid. And I'm going to stop right there, dropping a little mark to say, hello, Master Goblin Games. Thank you for rating. Hey, everybody. I'm in the middle of recording my monthly podcast. I've got a whole bunch of questions that have been sent to questions@rahdo.com. I'm just going to go back to recording, but I heard you come into my ear, and I wanted to say hi. Thanks for rating. Thanks for the explosion of icons there. My goodness. Hello, that girl at that place 114. that is a whole bunch of icons. And Sweet and Low 27, nice to meet you. And Meeple Conrad, you I know, I believe. But anyway, I'm now going to continue. I'm recording my monthly podcast. I got to get back to it. If you want to stick around and any questions come up that you would like to ask in the podcast, start your comment with a question mark. And at the end of the submitted questions, I'll see if there's any good questions that came from the audience as well. If you start with a question mark, I'll be able to find it easily. Okay. Thank you. That gave me an opportunity to clear my throat, as I'm already, not very far in, and my throat's already starting to explode. Okay, let's get back to it. All right. And then Gerald continues. Jen doesn't like dark themes, but Gerald notes, I don't seem to mind them. Would I consider doing a solo-only Patreon run-through series, games of themes that generally I don't cover because of Jen, like Dawn of the Zed, Final Girl, Red Dawn Rebellion? Or would you prefer not to take up space on yourself? Here's the deal. I could definitely do that, but I've got enough games that I can play with Jen, and I play games because I want to share the experience. So you're right, I could certainly do that. If I ever got to the point where I was ahead of my queue of games that are outstanding that I need to play, that would be a really great idea. Because, yeah, I don't mind playing a game where I pick up a machine gun and shoot at people. But my wife will never want to play something like that. My wife will never want to play a Final Girl, which is why I had Kimberly Tolson cover it for the channel, because it was just not something that I was going to get to our table anytime soon. So, yeah, I can imagine that being something in the future, but for now, I've got way too many games to cover as it is. I can't go making more work for myself. But thanks for the question. It's definitely a good suggestion, definitely. Okay, moving on. Darren has got a bunch of questions. First of all, he says, in the last podcast, I mentioned that Gold West has kind of a 2D Mon-Cala. And then he jokes, does that mean that Taikaido is a 1D Rondel? Yes. It is ridiculous. I don't know what I meant. Well, obviously, everything we play in board games, they're all two-dimensional. They lie flat on the table. What did I mean? I meant by, I guess I really meant it's one-dimensional. It's a Mon-Cala that isn't circular. A Mon-Cala is free. You can go wherever you want. They're often made circular, whereas Gold West is Mon-Cala-like, but it just goes in only one direction. And but even still, that's what Mon-Calas do. But then I'm thinking of like Five Tribes. That's a Mon-Cala that goes all... And original Mon-Calas could go any direction you want. It's really... Stefan Feld kind of... codified what we think of as a Mon-Cala today, that it goes in clockwise around a board. I'm gonna take the caveat out. Gold West has a Mon-Cala game. We'll just leave it at that. Point taken, sir. But anyway, then I assume you have a real question, as opposed to just picking nits. I have said in the past that what I enjoy about Agricola is building a hand of cards at the start, and then the game almost plays itself. That's not quite true. Building the hand at the start means I then have a blueprint that I have to try to follow to the best of my ability, and the game will and my opponent will throw all kind of obstacles for me being able to optimally, deliver on that plan. But yes, it's very satisfying to be able to come up to, all right, this is what I'm going to do early game, this is what I'm going to do mid game, this is what I'm going to do late game, and then see if you can actually make it happen. And it never works out. You always have to zig and zag. Anyway, though, Darren continues, how does that differ from building a deck in Marvel Champions or Magic the Gathering, which is my least favorite part of those games? I think it differs hugely. There's lots of different ways you can play Agricola. As far as I'm concerned, the best way to play it is, at Agricola, you are supposed to start with 7 minor improvements and 7 occupations. And these are the cards you will potentially play over the course of the game. Of those 14 cards, in an average game, you'll maybe play 5 or 6 of them at the most. And because of that, the game says, you know what? Just everybody take random cards by default, because you're not going to play all those cards anyway. You'll find some synergy, don't worry about it. Hardcore Agricola players, they do a hand draft. I've got my hand, and then I take one, I hand the rest to my neighbor. I would never want to do that. It slows the game down so much. It's like a completely different game, but I understand why people want that, because it minimizes randomness. I think the best way to go, what Jen and I do, is we draw, each of us, independently, 10... occupations and 10 minor improvements, and then eliminate 3 of them. So that is us, and that is a far cry from taking hundreds of Magic the Gathering or Marvel Champion cards and trying to figure out, okay, which 60 50 or 40 or 50 or 60 of these cards will work really well out of a pool of hundreds and hundreds. I have zero interest in that. And it is a very, very different ask rather than saying, oh, here's 10 cards, get rid of 3. In Magic the Gathering, here's 2,000 cards, get rid of 1,960 of them. So you get down to 40. Now, don't get me wrong. Jen loves it. When we used to play Magic the Gathering back in the day, and both of us, we used to engage in tournaments in Seattle and stuff like that. Jen really liked deck building. I never, ever, ever, or I'm not going to call it deck building. Dominion is deck building. I call it deck construction. I've always hated it. And the start of Agricola is very, very different. Same thing, Raise Arcana. One of the reasons it is just about the best, from Race for the Galaxy guy, Tom Lehman, one of the most brilliant card game designs in the last few years is because it does the same thing. Hey, look, here's a handful of cards. Make your deck. It's a very small deck from a very small pool, and then run that deck as best you can. That's great. Stripping away 500 cards or 1,000 cards or even 100 cards down to 40 cards is not interesting to me, and trying to find those synergies and then hope they work out. I understand people love it. I could not be less interested in that as an activity. And to me, it's very, very different than the start of Agricola. All right, Darren then says, what do I think about the new Castles of Burgundy on GameFound? Art looks good, but it also looks like it's going to be a whole lot of minis for the buildings that look nice but aren't needed. I have to admit, I didn't look at it that close. I was just so excited. Although, I'm pretty happy with my 10th or my 25th anniversary edition. The Aaliyah box. I've got that. So, I don't know. I guess I'm excited. I guess it's something I really want. Ruel and I were just talking about this on the R&R show the other day. Why are Stefan Feld games, by and large, not really full of a dazzling razzmatazz when it comes to their production? And this is it. Here it comes. So I think that's very, very cool. I guess I'm curious about what new features are going to be added to the game. I'm sure there's going to be new modules and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know there were going to be miniatures. I don't care. Miniatures, and if they're not washed miniatures, I would rather play with standees or flat chips because I would rather look at art rather than amorphous gray blobs. But that's just me. So I guess those are my feelings about right now, but I have not dug into it too terribly much. The publisher hasn't contacted me about covering it. And I don't know if they're going to, so I'll probably just be on the sidelines checking it out with everybody else when it goes live. Although, man, boy, would I totally love to cover that because I'm super excited. Castle Burgundy is in my top 10 games of all time. It is my favorite game from my favorite designer of all time, Stefan Feld. So any new Burgundy, even if it's just getting a new look of paint, is interesting to me, but this seems like it'll be a lot more. Right. And also, and not for nothing, yes, don't need buildings, but getting back to what I was talking about before, how tile layers, and this definitely applies to Burgundy. It is so satisfying at the end of the game of Burgundy to see, look at my province, my French provincial little kingdom I built up, all these tiles I somehow made it fit. It feels great. I love it. If those were all 3D buildings, that'd be pretty freaking cool, I have to say. So I think it would up the fun factor for the game for me. Not function, it's definitely, a form over function thing, but I'm definitely curious to see more. Alrighty. Darren then continues. A lot of YouTubers these days are doing their own ads for sponsors. Some more news, from Cody Shody, I know what you're talking about, are particularly good. Barely Inconvenience guy. He does really funny ones with the Adstronaut. But anyway, right, that was me interrupting. Darren notes, Darren hasn't seen this happen with board game channels. Why do I think that is? I'll tell you why that is. Because all of those things, what's the one that, I know, No Pun Included does them for Skillshare. But as I understand it, all of those things are basically, hey, you do the ad, and if people follow those links and sign up, you will get a fraction of a penny, or you'll get 25 cents, or whatever it might be. I have no idea. You won't get very much. And the reason, there's not much reason for us to do it, because board games and board game media are still tiny little nothings. You mentioned Somewhere News. That's a show that gets hundreds of thousands of views with every episode that Katie and Cody put together. And so, yeah, when you're talking about numbers that big, you are going to get a very, very, very tiny portion of your audience to say, oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I'll go on ahead and sign up for a free week of whatever, blah, blah. And so that will actually translate into something that's worth their time. If I did it, it might translate into $5 or $10 a month. And for me, it's just not worth doing it, at all. So I think that's why it's a function of the fact that board games are not as big as video games, are not as big as movies, are not as big as politics or TV or anything else. We are just way too podunk. But you know what? If you ever get a chance, ask Efka and Elaine, because last I knew, maybe they're not doing it anymore, but last I knew they were doing Skillshare. Maybe they know something I don't, but I think that's what's going on there. And then finally, Darren's last question. Darren supposed that I, the industry, this is continuing. Right. Inherently sponsored by the show. Oh, yeah. Oh, continuing. Presumably, we're inherently sponsored by the games we're showing off, so you don't need sponsorship from random products. No. That's not it at all. If you watch the intro to this episode, I can't do this for free. I live in America. Do you know how many hundreds of dollars I pay every month to have healthcare that I can't afford to actually use? I need to make money out of this venture. So if it would make money, I would certainly give it a try, provided I could find something that would be interesting to me. I wouldn't just want to schlock sell anything, but I don't know. If MeUndies, I've never tried a MeUndie. They sound really good because I've been hearing about them in other podcasts for years now. But again, if I did a MeUndies ad, I could sign up for it, and maybe, this is a very popular podcast. According to my stats, it's in the top 3% of all podcasts in the world based on the downloads I get. So I could probably sign up for MeUndies, but still, I get enough, maybe it'd be $10 or $15, and honestly, I don't care that much. And so yeah, it's just we're not big. If I ever went over to video games, and I, not that I'd become a superstar necessarily, but I think I would certainly do much, much better. Then maybe you'd be talking about something. But board games just aren't big enough. That's why we take sponsorships from board game related stuff, because we have a very niche, a very tiny, but a very targeted audience. Righty, anyway. Gerard. We're done with Gerald. He was a bit ago. We're moving on to Gerard. Hey, did I not have... These should be in alphabetical order. Did I fail? I totally did. A D came between two G's. Oh, that's so Rahdo. Anyway, though, from Gerard. Hi, Rahdo. I just finished watching the R&R show where I mentioned Melodice, and Gerard wanted to throw out there just in case other peoples might want to check it out. Gerard has a friend play background music to go with our games, and I was playing and forgot about it. Thanks for mentioning it. I totally agree. It really brings games to life. It's not much, but it adds that extra wow factor thoughts. Oh, yeah. For people who don't know what Gerard is talking about, let me go on ahead. For people who are watching this rather than listening, I will put it back on the browser. Melodice. It's melodice.org. If you're listening to this, it's literally just melodice.org. It's a very simple site. You type in a name. We were talking about Agricola earlier. Let's go Agricola. Hey, here's every instance of Agricola and associated stuff it can find on Board Game Geek. Let's go to Agricola. It's the big one. And hey, here is a playlist of music chosen by fans of Agricola, added to this. It's really a, YouTube playlist. Music from video games. Here's some Legend of Zelda music from Wind Waker, some stuff from The Witcher, a lot of video game stuff where appropriate, but sometimes, classical music or instrumental stuff, all kinds of stuff. But stuff that in theory enhances, I was going to say, I can't even think what I was going to say. I'll stick with enhances the experience of playing. And yeah, Jen and I, we use it all the time. I've got a nice little Bluetooth speaker that's just always on. It's always paired to my phone. And so I can just open up my phone, go to I actually have a shortcut on my phone that takes me direct to Melodice. I type in the game. If the game doesn't have a playlist, I type in some other game that's popular, that's in the same genre, the same setting, the same theme. And then we have music to play. And it makes it better. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. Melodice. melodice.org. Alrighty. Back to the questions. Gerard, likes how games are trying to be more creative in campaign or legacy style content. like adding pieces in Charterstone, having choose your own adventures in Above and Below, storytelling and so on. Adventuring in Robin Hood they use, like you put it, an advent calendar style, where the game progresses and you need fingernails or a butter knife to flip them over. I like the plunger of Rise of Queensdale. Why didn't I think of the plunger of Rise of... Oh, man. I mean, when I put up so many people who saw my Adventures of Robin Hood complained, oh my god, I bet those things are just going to be ruined after like 2 plays. I'm like, no, they're not. If you just exercise even the tiniest bit of care, it's totally fine. But people are just predisposed to assume everything will just melt in your fingers. But yeah, the plunger. Rise of Queensdale is another game that had advent calendar style things you could pull off your board, and it came with the world's tiniest plunger you could use to pick them up. I still have that plunger around someplace because I had a prototype for Rise of Queensdale and they sent me a prototype plunger. I should find that. I should totally find that. And so I have it for the next time one of these games comes up. Anyway, though, at the end of all that, Gerard asks, what would I like to see added to these types of games? Dude, I don't know. If I knew that, I would go design a game. I am really, let's see. What are you saying? Basically more creativity in campaign and legacy style games. What it would be a cool legacy gimmick. Let's see. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. It just so happens I'm streaming this live to an audience of 80 viewers right now. I'll look over there and see if anybody in the live chat has a suggestion for cool new ideas for legacy gimmicks or whatnot. But let's see, can I think of anything? So obviously, you start with the ripping stuff up, the applying stickers, the writing on stuff, and that's kind of like, what Davio defined as the basics. Let's see, more plumbing tools, says the chat. Thanks, Wes. That is not the most helpful right now while I'm recording my podcast. Let's see. I really like the stuff. I love the feel of taking a card and ripping it up to shreds. It's so satisfying. It's so liberating. But, yeah, what else? Boy, if I could think of something, it's probably something that somebody would have done by now. I am just not the most clever. You know what? One thing. This is, what's it? Gloomhaven is ostensibly a legacy game, and some people really can't stand it. So you can go out and buy, I believe, clings, which are, these things that have been around since the 70s at least. The things that will just like, they're made out of some kind of plastic. They're not quite magnetic, but they will just cling to surfaces, so you can just take them and pick them off. I'm kind of surprised nobody's done anything with that in board games. I'm sure there's probably some kind of family party games that have done stuff like that. That's really what you want to do. You want to look to the world of family party style games. One's going way back, because those games come up with crazy off-the-wall gimmicks all the time. And those gimmicks almost never, ever, ever make it into what we love to play, and it always drives me nuts. Why don't they? Let's see. Although the audience suggests, destructible minis made out of styrofoam. Wow. That would definitely be taken to the next level. That you literally have to, smash your minis apart. That would be very, very cool. Yeah. And, so, there's the kind of stuff that you see in a lot of escape rooms, right? Where you have to find stuff hidden in the box. You've seen some of this in existing legacy games. But, the kind of stuff like the old Mad magazine, folding things together to find hidden messages. There's lots of stuff you could do. And I think maybe the Exit series of games is full of so many clever things they have come up with a pair of scissors and a willingness to fold things. Let's see some more of that kind of stuff brought over into proper Euro game style legacy games. That would be awesome also. Alrighty. Like making origami pieces and whatnot, the chat suggests. So I think there's probably some stuff like that. Look to board game publishers trying to stand out with your upcoming legacy games. Look to classic kids and party style games, and look to escape room games and start bringing those into the heavier, crunchy, meaty Euros. That would be super awesome, and I'd love to see it. Okay, Griffin. Moving on to some new questions from a new a listener. Early on in my board gaming journey, did I ever do much board game trading? Oh man, Griffin, did I ever? On board game bargain hunting, or board game bargain hunting at thrift shops, family game stores? If so, what was the best trade or best bargain I ever had? Personally, I love the thrill of a board game hunting at thrift stores. I was lucky enough to find Space Alert New and Shrink at a Goodwill for $5. That is amazing. I have never had... Okay, no, I've had one. I've had one amazing discovery like that is when I first moved to Malta, and I was looking around on the island. Malta is a country; it's one of the smallest countries in the world. It has less than 500,000 citizens. And they don't have much. When I first moved there was not much in the way of gaming. There was a Warhammer and Magic the Gathering based store, and I went down there. We see stores like that all the time. 99% of there is Warhammer and Magic the Gathering, but they did have a handful of board games, and they were way up on the top shelf. Clearly, nobody cared about them. They must have tried at one point and decided, yeah, no one's ever going to buy these things, and they were just gathering dust up there. And what did I find up there in the dark back corner? An in-shrink copy of Star Wars Queen's Gambit. Is that it? Queen's Gambit? The Phantom Menace game that has still to this day crazy out of print. Commands prices over $500 on eBay and whatnot. And there it was, pristine in shrink. And I picked it up on the spot and took it home immediately. That was a really big score. I mean, not as big as yours. $5 for Space Alert is amazing. But, Queen's Gambit for... what was it? I think I paid 60 euros for it. That was pretty amazing. I got it out. I opened it up. I played half a game, decided, yeah, don't like this game at all. It's not that good. And then promptly sold it to somebody for $200 or 200 euros or something like that online. So that's my one big one. When I first got into board games, I traded like crazy. I did math trades all the time. I did proposal trades because I didn't know when I first started how to actually spot games that Jen and I would enjoy. And so I just took a lot of Hail Marys and made a lot of bad guesses, but I never really felt too worried about it because there was always somebody on Board Game Geek who wanted that and had something that I wanted. And the Board Game Geek tool trade system is brilliant. It's one of the best kept secrets of the site. And so I used it a ton in my early days. These days I don't, because I get most of my games direct from the from publishers, so I can cover them, and then I send most of them down to Vegas to go get added to the Dice Tower West Library. But yeah, once upon a time, I was all about that bargain hunting. Okay, or more really the trading. Actually, I believe I talked about this. If you do a Google search for Rahdo top 10 or first 10 games, I did a full video where I talked about my first game as a board game geek, or my first year, and how many mistakes I made and what I learned. And I think I talked about all my trading, how I learned to trade in that video as well. Okay, continuing. Griffin says, recently I found myself in a bind. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Griffin. When it comes to board game themes, I've just found myself repulsed to play games with seemingly slapped-on themes of colonization, or board games depicting a culture which the designer has no real connection to. Examples being Puerto Rico, Five Tribes, Maracaibo. Have I felt similarly that designers should branch out from these themes or avoid them completely unless they add context, historical materials to the rulebook? It's interesting. The three examples you mentioned are all 10 years old. The thing is, the industry is changing. It is evolving. And while it might feel like, oh my gosh, we just have nothing but a glut of this kind of stuff, that stuff has really dried up. I mean, this year we're going to see Maracaibo re-released as a mining on the moon game instead of a colonization of Central and subjugation of Africa theme. And but I mean, geez, of the last 6 months, I've covered at least 2 or 3 games that do an amazing job of tackling tricky subject matter in a really respectful way. Like How, they actually they literally got which is a Euro game about building pyramids in ancient Maya. They actually got a modern day Peruvian scribe, one of the people keeping the language of the Mayans alive, and brought him on as a consultant. I just did Through Ice and Snow. They were literally hiring Inuit tribes, paying them for their time so they could more accurately reflect their people's contribution to the mapping of the Northwest Passage. I think we are undergoing a sea change where the board game industry is recognizing that it's not that hard. It costs a little bit of money. It takes a bit more work, but the results are worth it because it allows them to create deeper, richer, more meaningful experiences that have the opportunity to lift all our spirits and inform us in ways that just doing a quick read of Wikipedia entry could never do. Maracaibo is in my top 20 games of all time, and it's just got a new expansion where in the original game the native people of the Caribbean were pretty marginalized and just there was some, but it was kind of kept, of course. In this expansion, they are front and center, and they are the real stars of the show. I can't wait to try that. So I think the industry is changing, and if it's going to be a game from now on that Anno 1800 is a game that at first glance looks like, oh, it's just another recreation of a colonial European power. But watch my final thoughts for that game. I think it's very misunderstood because I've actually talked to the developers. They were actually trying to say, hey, what would the world be like if colonization hadn't existed and instead European colonizers reached out across the world with an open hand of partnership rather than a hand of subjugation? And what would that world look like? And so that's what Anno 1800 sets out to demonstrate. How much better a world based on non-zero-sum thinking and actually communal trade that lifts all boats. What could that be like? So I think we are seeing a real sea change. So don't get too distressed, Griffin. I think if you look around, there are more and more options of people doing it well and doing it right. And we've been growing. Mombasa. I praised it when it came out, 6 years ago, that, hey, here's another colonization game, but at least they took the time to actually have a syllabus where they could say, hey, this is a really dark chapter. We're not really focusing on that in the game, but if you'd like to know more, and you really should know more, here's some reading you could do. And at the time I thought, wow, it's a baby step, but it's a step. And we're seeing better and better steps. I think we are definitely on the move, and it's getting to the point where it's getting harder and harder. I love that Board and Dice, as a publisher, whenever they do a game set in the ancient Mayas or whatever, they actually list in their credits the cultural consultants right there next to the the printing house and next to the designer and right next to whoever wrote the rulebook. And here's our cultural consultants. So because it's important, and so I think things are changing. So which is great. Okay. Joseph says, what are my final thoughts on Settlers of Catan? Imagine Jen and I aren't big fans of it because of the area control element. I played Settlers of Catan once. Back in the early days, when I was still working at Splash Damage, and I played a lot of board games at lunch with the gang, and we played a ton of Small World. I have played I don't know how many hours of Small World, and we played one game once of Settlers of Catan. I remember very clearly I won, even though it was my first game. And I thought, yeah, that's cool. And I could certainly appreciate how important it was. And I could try to imagine what was it like to experience this game in the mid 90s, right? Or is it the late 90s? Or the early 2000s? I don't remember when it came out. What a bombshell that game must have been. And it's really solid. The base game, very sharp. I would definitely play the Star Trek version of it sometime if it ever came up. But it's a 3-player minimum game. And back in those days, board game industry didn't really seem to care too much about 2-player gamers. So, and essentially, I've tried, I think, all the different 2-player spin-offs, Catan, the card game, and I think there were some space ones, and none of those ever really resonated with us very much. But I played it. I thought it was neat. Interestingly, years prior to that, this must have been when Jen and I were in our late 20s. She went and visited a friend of hers that she knew from playing EverQuest, and this guy, he had a copy of Catan, and he played with Jen. And Jen played it years. This must have been not too long after. When was EverQuest at its height? That's when Jen played Catan. And she never told me about it. If she had come home and said, oh my God, this was an amazing experience, I would have, well, let's seek it out. Let's try. I'll play it with my whole course. But apparently it never really resonated with Jen. She told me once, years later, yeah, I think I played that once with FO. Don't remember anything about it. So that's our experience with Catan. We've never played it since, though, because, again, 2-player gamers, sorry. I'll come up with a really great dummy player. Catan, where is the Automa player for Catan? This is ridiculous. It's 2022. It's time for an Automa expansion for Catan. Anyway, number 2 from Joseph. What would I say is my favorite classic game from the following list? Monopoly, Risk, Clue, Scrabble, or Trivial Pursuit? Well, Joseph, I'm assuming you do not watch the weekly R&R show that Ruel guy, because we actually answered this question. We did our top 3 greatest classic or mass market games the other day. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And we both agreed with any preamble, because this was a choice that the audience chose. Hey, do a top 3 on this. And so we did it. Scrabble, by far. But I'll go you one step further. I will rank these. I will do a top 5 countdown. So coming in at number 5, Trivial Pursuit. The trivia is great. The game is garbage. Oh my gosh, it's such a horrible experience, which is why nobody ever actually plays. People just draw cards and just ask each other questions because the whole thing of moving, it's just awful, awful, awful. So number 5. Number 4. I'll be honest. No, okay, I'm going to change. Number 5, Risk. I have never played Risk in my life. I never ever will. I just don't care about it. So I'm putting it at number 5 because I literally cannot comment on it. That's not true. Trivial Pursuit is definitely the worst. I will say number 4, Risk. From everything I've heard, it's not a very good game. But I can't. That's a guess. Number 3, Clue. Roll and move stuff. It's nice. It's a good little introduction to deduction and all that. And as a kid, I played it a lot. But it's only going there because number 2, Monopoly, is better. Monopoly is not a bad game. If played correctly and played in an incredibly cutthroat way with, the always-on auctions so that when people can't buy, somebody else will buy and all the stuff gets snapped up really quick. Monopoly is a game that any group of players should be able to finish in under an hour if played correctly without all the weird variants that have popped up over the years. And played correctly, it's not a great game at all, although it could be. There's a handful of twists you could add. Here would be my homebrew variant for making Monopoly a good game. It'd be something like, basically it'd be, manipulating the roll and move. Like, you roll 2 dice to move, and you move the value of one die, the other die, or the combined. So you get 3 choices every turn. So you have 3 spaces you could choose where you want to land. Now, of course, that would break things, of course, because then it'd be easier to dodge. But eventually, the thing is, Monopoly, the board would fill up very quickly. Within a couple of circuits around, all the stuff is going to be, and every move is going to be, please let one of those 3 be that I can land in my own space. That would lead to runaway leader problems. But Monopoly could be made even better, but as it is, Monopoly is not bad. It's just kind of a okay game. And then again, Scrabble is an excellent game. There's an entire board game subgenre that you built an industry on. Freaking King of Tokyo and so many other games still use Scrabble mechanisms. And Scrabble is like the OG roll and write. And OG roll and writes are the hottest thing there is now. So Scrabble, number 1 by far. Okay, moving on. Joseph says, this is more of a suggestion than a question, but I wanted to continue a conversation from a previous point raised in an R&R. Oh, you do watch the R&R show. Okay, you must have sent this in before we actually did this. All right, I forgot. This is a month's worth of questions that are coming in. All right. Oh, and he says the R&R content is awesome. Thank you, Joseph. Anyway, Joseph remembers someone mentioning they would appreciate a way to get a response confirming their entry into the contest, and I wanted to offer a solution: Google Forms. Instead of having participants submit emails directly to me, I could create a Google form and share the link over the various platforms. People who complete the form would get an automatic response, plus all the data would be collected by Google, saved in a sheet. Yeah, saves me a few steps of having to do all that myself. Joseph would like to point out he's in no way connected to Google, just wanted to introduce a tool, might make life easier. You're right, I have actually considered doing that, in all honesty, because I think a month or 2 ago, our mail server just went down completely for like 2 days, and so no one could submit, and we had to extend the contest for an extra week. And and I thought at the time, hey, maybe do Google Forms. I've done Google Forms a few times. Like, one of the things people get if they back me on Patreon is every year they get a new Rahdo Runs Through exclusive micro badge they can wear on Board Game Geek. How do I get everybody's Rahdo or Board Game Geek thing? A Google form that I just send to all my Patreon backers, and they've got a week to fill it out. So I'm familiar with it, and you're right, it's a good idea. It's just, inertia is a powerful thing, and I've got a thing that I know how it works. I think you're right. In almost every way, this would be superior. Although, okay, I'll tell you one way it would not be superior. The coolest thing about contest@rahdo.com, when people find the secret word, and most people just follow the rules, they send the name of the game where the secret word was, and then they cross their fingers and hope next week that they'll win a free game that'll be sent to them wherever they are in the world. Right. But there are always people who take time and send in pictures of their pets or tell stories about games they've recently played or all kinds of stuff. And here's the deal. Usually 200 to 300 of those come in every week. We used to get almost 1,000, but that's before we switched it and made it. It used to be the secret word was easy to find because Royal and I were just trying to trick each other. And then we'd tell, hey, everybody, here's where it is. And we got, literally upwards of 1,000 entries because it was easy to find. But now that viewers have to actually listen for the secret word and find it, we usually get 200 or 300 entries. And the thing is, I read every single one of them. And you're right. I guess I could set up a Google form where, hey, do you have anything else you want to say? But, yeah, I guess I could. I guarantee you there would be problems, though, because people, there would be a form saying, hey, enter your email address, and people would mess up, and they would do a typo, and then it turns out they would win, and then I don't have a way to reach them except to reach out to them publicly on the show. There would be problems, too. You're right, it probably would be the best way to go, but again, inertia is just keeping me doing what works. But thank you for the suggestion. I do agree. It's a smart one. Okay, moving right along to Lance. As someone who is not a Twitch user, but an avid supporter of Rahdo and a listener of everything in the podcast feed, Lance has a quick suggestion. Having finally decided to try to figure out how to use his Amazon Prime account to subscribe on Twitch, for folks who don't know, every week I do 1 or 2 live shows on Twitch. And if you subscribe, which normally costs $4.99, but you can do that subscription for free, it costs you absolutely nothing if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. And then that means you get all the benefits. You get the stream avatars, you get the discount on Rahdo merch, you get the secret bonus videos that nobody else gets to see, you get a bunch of stuff. And it's all free if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. Anyway, so Lance finally took the time to figure out how to do that. Right. So, Lance continues. This is something that Ruel and I tell people on the show regularly. Use your Amazon Prime, subscribe for free, get all these bonuses. But you may want to go into how to do it for the people who do not use Twitch. I bet there's a lot of people out there who do not watch the Twitch show but have Prime accounts and be willing to put a little time into doing that. Honestly, Lance, that's why we started doing this on Twitch. It's because literally, probably, I would guess, upwards of 60% of my audience, probably. No, that's true. Somewhere between 30 and 40% of my audience is American. And then I think another 15% is Canadian. And then another 30% is European. And then there's the rest of the world. So, yeah, it might not be unreasonable to assume that, somewhere between 40 and 60% of my audience are literal Amazon Prime subscribers. And they are just literally throwing money away that they could be supporting the show with if they just clicked a couple of buttons. It's literally, you just got to go to my channel, click subscribe, and then a little thing comes up saying, hey, do you have an Amazon Prime? You subscribe with Prime, you click that, and then boom, you're done. And you would be helping keep the show going. And you'd get all those bonuses that we try to do. And you're right, I've never done a video about it. It's always been something I've been thinking about doing, but then I found another channel did a brilliant walkthrough of how to do it. So if you go to Twitch and you're watching any live stream, including the one I'm filming right now, if you scroll down to the subscribe, there's a section for subscribe where I say, hey, look, you can subscribe for free with Amazon Prime. Click this link, and that takes you to a video that walks you through how to do it. It's just that some other channel did it. And so that's kind of what I've done. But I really should at some point do a Rahdo runs through Twitch, because Twitch is such a weird ecosystem compared to YouTube. And it took me a long time to get comfortable with it, and I am now. And I could probably do a thing. Hey, look at all these cool things you can do if you watch us on Twitch. I should totally do that. It's been on the list of things to do forever. There's just not enough hours in the day. But I agree. It's definitely something I should do. Lance continues. You have to go to Prime Gaming, link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account, and then you can subscribe. It might be worth explaining that you can't do the entire thing from Twitch. Yeah, it's basically, I did simplify it a little bit. You subscribe, and then you say, oh, do you have, there's an Amazon. You say do that. It takes you to a page where your Amazon Prime, I put it wrong. Like I said, there's this other person that did this video. You're right. I should totally do it. You're right, Lance. You're right. There's a lot of things I should do. I should use Google Forms too. Alrighty. Anyway, though. Scott says, on a previous podcast, I mentioned I was looking for ways to increase the Rahdo brand. I mentioned one of my best qualities is loving to talk. I'm good at talking. I don't know that I love to talk. I'm really a quiet, shy, introverted person. I've talked about that at great length, though. But anyway, I'm very good at talking, I think. And I have a way of making games sound like they have so many interesting decisions. Well, if they don't have interesting decisions, I don't put them on the channel. I'm not making them sound. They have interesting decisions. If they don't, I literally don't cover them. But anyway, continuing, Scott, there are a lot of content creators who create videos about summarizing a game and giving a review or teaching videos, rules, how to play. But one thing that seems to be lacking in the content space is more in-depth analysis and discussion. You're right. Many people have brought this up over the years. And right now, I'd say probably your best bet for in-depth analysis is a podcast called So Very Wrong About Board Games, I believe, or maybe So Very Wrong About Games. That is an excellent podcast. They occasionally do videos. They started branching into, but they mostly stick in podcasts. It's a couple of guys, and they do much more deep analysis-based critiques. They only talk about a few games an episode. I highly rate them. I definitely recommend them. I used to listen to it regularly. I just don't have enough time to listen to all the podcasts I want to listen to. So anyway, continuing for Scott, asked Scott, do I feel about taking some of the higher ranked games in my collection, doing deeper dives into strategies, to learn and think about the game, how to approach early, mid, late portions, how a turn order might change the approach, tips to help the player get better and pitfalls to watch for. Scott thinks, between my elegant speaking, are you listening? Elegant? That's very kind. Enthusiastic speaking, let's say. My charisma and my ability to analyze decisions, I could potentially start a whole new series to fill that void that my successors could carry on even further. You're right. It's people have been asking me to do this for years, literally for years. And the biggest problem I would have with that is, besides doing the time, I've talked about it 3 times. There's 60 games on that wall over there, and that is just forever burned into my brain. That my wall of shame is me failing publishers who have taken the time and effort and money to shipping to send me these games. I am literally failing them by not at least getting the games played once and at least mentioning them in the monthly roundup, at least that. And as long as I've got that, I don't have time for deeper dives. It is something I think I could do. It is something other channels do. Actually, Shay Parker, a regular contributor to the channel now, my first regular contributor. That's kind of his whole thing. RTFM, which stands for Read the Manual, or RTFM show. You can find it on YouTube, or you can find a link to his show on any video he ever does on my channel, because I big him up. I want everybody to subscribe to him. That's kind of a big part of what he does, and he does a great job of it. And I'm just not in a situation where I can do that. Not based on where I'm at. I would need to be able to play these games lots. I mean, and you're right. I mean, I've got older games. I could probably do deep dives into Gloomhaven, Agricola, Shadowrun Crossfire, Castles of Burgundy maybe. But even still, to do that, I would have to get those games out, and I want to play them 2 or 3 times just to refresh myself. And that's a couple of days that I'm falling behind on the stuff that I still need to do. And so that's the thing. Here's the deal. Sooner or later, I've mentioned this before. Folks, this is my 10th year of filming, by the way, the month of April 2022. My 53rd birthday, I don't remember, our 30-something wedding anniversary, and the 10th year of filming Rahdo Runs Through. And I'm celebrating it by, Kim has got a lot of videos coming up. She just started last month. Another new contributor is coming to the channel. They're just about, probably next week, we're putting up the first video from that channel, and I love it. And I want to keep doing this. I want to keep finding people who can do what I do so that I genuinely do it less. So that I can spend more time revisiting old ones that I love. And, maybe just more, and that would be the window to start doing stuff like what you're suggesting. But in my current situation where I personally film something like 70% of all the content on my channel, and all of that comes from me playing these games with my wife, I just don't have the time, Captain. But it's a great suggestion. A lot of really good suggestions today, folks. Thank you very much, one and all. And that is it. I have made it through the game questions, and I've got to move on. I got to get Jen in this chair right over here to start answering the game-related questions that came in for her. And then we'll move on to the personal questions. But before I do that, folks, I'm going to check that live stream and see if any questions from the audience have come in that might be good to squeeze in here as well. So, what do we got? Marking. Okay. Hey, thanks, Rainer. If you're still here, thank you for rating. It's good I hope everything's going well. Hey, folks, you just missed my filming of my monthly Rahdo Talks Through podcast. I just answered the last question, but I'm not done yet because now I'm going to head back over and see if any questions. Okay, I've got a few questions. So let's look at these. I'm wondering how you dare to rank an officer. Cool. All right, no, that's not right. You said that's a Rahdo. Sorry. Yeah. What are your favorite Dominion cards? You thought about doing top 10 and doing Senfeld. We're gonna do. Okay, that's a good question. Okay, I think I'm going to do that one. If you start, I'm going to answer all these questions that have come in, but so far I think there's one that I really like for the podcast. You start a question. Okay, there's a suggestion from, and still trying to get my wife to enjoy it. Okay, I've got 2. Okay, 2 more questions. So I'm going to answer 2 more questions that came in from folks, and then If anybody else who is here, if you have any more questions, I'm going to do a quick little Q&A, and then I'm going to be out of here and see if I can get Jen. I probably won't be able to record with her till tomorrow. But, okay. So, let me go on ahead and... Yeah, I like these. I like a couple of them. First of all, we've got a question from Metalapole 0. What Stefan Feld game do I recommend for someone who doesn't have any Feld in their collection? Stefan Feld is my favorite designer. Nobody has ever asked me this before, but it is an excellent question. Let's go back to the browser and let's look at the gameography of Stefan Feld. Alrighty, back to Board Game Geek. And then, wait patiently for that. Wait a minute. Oh, I already have this one open. Oh, here we go. All right, and then go to Advanced Search. Where's Advanced Search? Oh, it's too small, but I have a shortcut to Advanced Search because I use it so much. When it's too small, Advanced Search. And then, Advanced Search, folks, the most powerful tool on all of Board Game Geek. Designer, Feld. All right, Stefan. I'll do all of them, not so much, but no expansions, please. All righty, submit. Here's a list of every game from Stefan Feld. Let's sort them by what Board Game Geek thinks is the best, and Board Game Geek agrees with me. Castles of Burgundy is the #1 ranked. It's number 16 best game in the world. It's in my top 10 of all time. Still, I don't know. Okay, so Metal, was it Metal? You did not, give me in. It's going to be tough. If you're a really diehard soccer fan, I would say Spiel mit Lucas. If you could find a copy of it, I've heard that Queen does plan on bringing it back because it's one of the best board game soccer simulations of all time. And no one has played it. But you can watch my run through to see what it's like. It comes with a really cool little wooden soccer ball. Or football, I should say. So, I mean, if you're a sports fan, I would say that. But okay, I'm just assuming I know nothing about a person and they're like, okay, they like board games and they haven't played a Feld. What would I say to start with? I almost said Carpe Diem. Because Carpe Diem... No. Carpe Diem... There's issues with Carpe Diem. Carpe Diem could have been a good suggestion. Maybe La Isla. La Isla is a good choice. Because I'm trying to be very careful. I'm trying not to do something that would be too heavy and too overwrought, but then no matter what, even if you're looking for a lighter experience, you would enjoy it, but if you were looking for a heavy experience, you'd still enjoy it. La Isla is a good option. Castles of Tuscany is a very good option. Roma is a good option as well, but I mean, not if you don't want, direct attacking. Plus, it's out of print forever. Cocopelli is really good, but that doesn't work for everybody. Boy, that is a tough question. I really like it though, which is why I brought it over here. I'm inclined to go with Castles of Tuscany, which is one of his more recent ones. And Castles of Tuscany is basically a stripped-down, streamlined, very fast-playing variation on his greatest game of all time, Castles of Burgundy. And it's fun, it's fast. Oh, but they tweaked with it and they screwed it with the second... it has the same problem Carpe Diem does, where it was great, but then the publisher blinked because some people complained about stuff, and they changed Feld's design, and so no, I take that back. I take that back. Honestly, Castles of Burgundy, the dice game, his little roll and write is an excellent roll and write. It is, and it really captures what makes Burgundy so special. That's maybe a good one as well. My first Feld was Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is fantastic. It's one of my favorites still. But I would worry that it would be a little bit too heavy, that it can't handle everything. I'm trying to find something that heavy gamers will appreciate, that light gamers will be able to throw themselves into. Most of his stuff skews towards heavier, more complex play. So I think I'm going to come down to La Isla, which is a very, very clever programming area control game that it doesn't get anywhere near as much attention as it should. It's super sharp. Watch my run through to see why. Or Castles of Burgundy, the dice game, because it's a fantastic roll and write. Everybody, well, if you don't love roll and writes, stay away from it. But if you like roll and writes, you have to try it. I would probably go with one of those two. Thank you. That is an excellent question. And then what was the other one I really liked? Okay. Okay. All right. It was from Bing. Okay. Trying to put it on screen. Bing413 says, still trying to get my wife to enjoy gaming as much as I do. I'm trying to find a very light 2-player game that is fun. Ideas. Here's the deal, Bing. I don't know your wife. I don't know your wife. I run into the same problem I just had with this. If I knew her and I knew you and I knew what passions you shared, what hobbies you go into, I'm guaranteed they'd be able to find something. I mean, is patchwork at all interesting because of the subject matter of crafting? Because that's a really easy game you make play. Does she like cats? Calico is a great start, but I don't know her. So the reason I wanted to put this up is because I haven't mentioned this for a long time. Nobody's asked one of these, but I'm just going to take the opportunity to suggest, Bing, boobala. Can I suggest? Let me bring back up the browser. Oh, I didn't close it. Go to Bing, FAQ.rahdo.com. And question number 5 in FAQ.rahdo.com is, I love insert game. What game should I buy? I get asked this a lot. So much so, it's my number 5 entry on my FAQ. The answer might surprise you. It is go to this forum. It is the recommendation forums on Board Game Geek. I feel like I've mentioned this is yet another one of the greatest, most powerful tools on Board Game Geek. If you go there, Bing, and you ask the exact same question you just asked me, you'll immediately start getting a lot of suggestions, and you'll get people asking, well, tell us about your wife. What does she like? What do you two like doing together? And you will get a hive mind of dozens of fantastic suggestions. Whenever these questions come up, they always spawn lots of conversation. When I discovered this, my first few months of trying to be a board game geek, I just made all kinds of terrible mistakes. When I eventually found this forum, where, let's see, 23 people answer the question looking for a light, medium area control game. 27 people, best 1 versus 1 strategic tactical game with different genre mechanisms. You will always get answers here. There will always be at least a few people to sometimes a lot of people that will definitely be able to engage you in conversation, have a one-way back and forth, and this is by far, in the entire internet, the best way for you to find a game that is tailor-made for you to try to be able to share some of the love of the genre with your wife. So that would be my suggestion, sir. Okay, and that's it, folks. We are now going to be back in just a second. Jen will be sitting right over there, although you won't be able to see her, as we continue the podcast. So hang on, everybody, and we'll be right back. Okay, snip. Hey, everybody, thanks for hanging out. Okay, we're at 2 hours and 7 minutes. Let's see. Let's look at the other questions. I will start doing them. Alrighty. Could I imagine, says Mr. Vertran, that Pandemic, Wrath of the Lich King, would have had the same influence on you and Jen like the original one? Oh my God! I didn't see that. I would have put that on the podcast. That was a really good one. But I'll answer the question now. Maybe. There is a distinct possibility that it could have. Because it's not bad at all. It's nowhere near as good as Pandemic. But at that time, Jen and I were still... I think we might have stopped playing World of Warcraft, but World of Warcraft was in our recent memory. And so I think we would have been very attracted to the subject matter, and it would have been such a mind-blowing concept. Just like original Pandemic was. I think it could have. I definitely think it could have. That's a good question. Alrighty. Then what have we got? Right. The Rare Norb says, people are wondering, how dare I rank Monopoly over Clue? It's a better game. It really is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Clue is nice, but Clue is... It's a more shallow experience. It simply is. It's not bad. It's great, for kids. But I do think Monopoly. I mean, there's a reason that there are worldwide Monopoly tournaments around the world, and there are not, or at least nowhere near as many worldwide Clue tournaments around the world. It's find the information quicker, get lucky with the rooms you stumble across, take some chances on the guesses, and hopefully roll high so you can move quick instead of just having to move one, or whatever. So yeah. A Clue is definitely better thematically. It tells a better story, but gameplay-wise, no, Monopoly is definitely superior. I would almost go as far as to say objectively superior. Gasp. Although, that's a ridiculous statement, and I know it's ridiculous. I'm saying it for effect. Alrighty. Wes said, you just said, that's so Rahdo when you goof something up. Merch opportunity? I love saying that's so Rahdo, and I know it's It's a reference to some sitcom that that's I think it's Raven, right? Is that so Raven? I don't know the source. I just know people say that's so Raven. I said that's so Rahdo. You're right. That is probably a good merch opportunity. I really should do some more merch. If you scroll down, I do have a merch link. Right now, all I've got is, Rahdo Runs Through logo, and I put a second one up, which is the cartoon picture of me and Ruel for the R&R show. I get maybe like 1 or 2 nibbles a month. I probably should do more. And you're right, That's So Rahdo would be great. What would the image be? I don't know. But that's work I'm not doing my main job. So that's always the problem. Bing says, what are my favorite Dominion cards? Have I ever thought about doing a top 10 of that and then doing a run through? I did do a top 10 or a countdown of all Dominion expansions, but a top 10 Dominion cards that would take weeks of work. I would have to go through and I would have to play. I do not play. I mean, I've played Dominion probably in my life maybe 50 or 60 times. I have not played it for a couple of years. That would require so much research. It just wouldn't be viable. Tom Vassell, I know he does this kind of stuff all the time. He has got a better memory for this kind of thing than I do. I simply do not have. I do not have the powers of recall to be able to pull stuff like that out. Right, and then let's see one more. Oh, it was just Goblin explaining how question mark works. So okay, and yeah, thanks for coming along, folks, and hopefully you had a good time. And we now have to raid because them's the rules of the Twitchosphere. Let me go on ahead and find the raiding button. Who is online? The Becca Scott is playing Magic the Gathering. I love Becca, but do you folks want to go watch Magic the Gathering? We should really do some board game stuff. Hey, and there's Team Covenant. What are they doing? Okay, we tried to raid them the other day and failed, or the other week. We're going to do it now. If for no other reason, even if you don't stick around, could you just raid and let the Team Covenant guys go? That they've got a big fan from Rahdo. I love the Marvel Champion stuff they do. It's been very, very helpful for me personally. And just, pass on good wishes for me, could you? So we are going to raid them. And it looks like I think they're doing some analysis of Magic the Gathering cards, which is very ironic because I said, you want to watch Becca play digital Magic the Gathering? No, watch these guys do. I mean, somebody was asking earlier for deep, in-depth analysis of games. Team Covenant is all about deep, in-depth analysis. It just happens to be for Magic. So go get them, everybody. Raid! And tell them I sent you. Alrighty. And hopefully the button worked. Fingers crossed. Crossing all the fingers. Let's see what happens. Of course, I have no idea if they even pay attention to being raided. Oh, they're actually playing, I guess. Oh, I might have sent you to a channel where... Yep, they're just deep in playing this game. And I think they are not even going to see this at all. And you guys are all doing the shouts and all of that. But oopsie doops. Yeah, they have no idea. No idea. Oopsie doops. Okay, cool. They are caught on. So, sweet. All right. Very interesting. All right, so we are done. I'm out of here. Bye, everybody.